Okay, well, we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the inaugural Climate Tech Day event in Bangkok. We're thrilled and excited to host this event, the first one in Southeast Asia today. My name is Kukai. I'm the founding partner of the Southeast Asia Climate Tech Coalition. I'm typically based in North America, and I flew in just for this event today. For the past decade, I've been spending my time in the venture capital and private equity industry, looking at climate tech solutions in North America, some of the most innovative, impactful solutions there. And I always had a dream that I wanted to bring them to Southeast Asia, my home country, where I'm from. So I've met companies that, are innovating things like clean air, clean water, clean energy, of course. And a lot of them struggle to find the problems. And obviously, the problems that we have here, it's concentrated here. It's waiting for innovations to come and solve. So I'm really excited to launch the Southeast Asia Climate Tech Coalition today. And the dream is made possible because I got reconnected with my long lost friend, John Fall.
Hi, everybody. So if you actually knew how we reconnected, that would be something that I need to actually tell you. We catch up together on a scuba diving trip in Phuket. And as you guys know, Phuket have a lot of plastics in the ocean. And that's really been part of this journey of thinking, okay, what's next for tech, right? After working so many years in e-commerce, for some of you here, you know my career in Get Links and helping e-commerce companies, seeing all these plastic bags been really that reasoning. So what do we do next for that problem? And from plastic bag, we went through, okay, what about agriculture, right? What about agri-tech? And then from agri-tech, we went to, oh, actually, what about energy, right? Thailand is still using mainly coal, gas, and oil, right? And then we went through, oh, all these buildings are using air conditioner all the time. We're in the middle of this heat wave right now, right? So who here is not using an aircon, right? So this is 60% of our electricity bill. So all of this together unfolding made us realize maybe this is the time. Maybe this transition, this amazing revolution, this amazing economical shift that we can observe in Europe and in the US, maybe it's time to bring it here in Southeast Asia. And so this is where that discussion 2 years ago started and helped us together by brainstorming and meeting incredible people in the US and Europe, investors and founders, to realize there were momentum building in those countries, but also in Southeast Asia. It was something that needed to happen. It was due to happen. If we look at the numbers, I will get through it in a minute, but you will see there's a big wave, a big tsunami coming in Southeast Asia of investing into those new energy, new technologies. And this is something that we want all of you here to have a chance to be part of. But before to get there, I just wanted to do a quick run through our agenda, and then I will share you what this tsunami is all about. So as you can see, we have a bunch of really incredible speakers flying from really all around the world, and thank you for that. We've got really great companies. We are in great company today. So we keep this event to be small, invite only, because we really want to facilitate the discussions. Some of the largest conglomerates in the region are here today, and we really want you guys to have a chance to talk together in an informal, mellow setup. So we will start right now with the first keynote, and then we'll have a 3:30 p.m. Clean energy panel, and then we'll have a low carbon mobility panel at 4 p.m., and then 4:45 net zero cities, and then we'll talk about clean air and carbon capture, and then networking at 6 p.m. Now, let me share with you why we are so excited together with Kokai to ride that wave in Southeast Asia. So Atlas Capital is the thing that is born after that discussion. Thank you for the new joiner. And this is the first initiative we have created. Atlas Capital is born a year and a half ago, and this is the first climate tech-only venture capital fund in Southeast Asia with what we call Asian roots and global reach. Why global reach? Because we're aiming to help mobilize conglomerates and family offices of Southeast Asia to invest in the latest technologies in US and Europe that are ready to be commercialized here in Southeast Asia. So now you see what I mean. Asian roots, global reach, right? This is really creating that bridge, commercializing those innovations that are ready to bring them to Southeast Asia, where we see that the markets are inevitable. And with Atlas Capital, we're aiming to do that with a focus on decarbonizing cities. I'm going to do a bit of a steep job right now. So every company we are investing in are aiming to decarbonize, decarbonizing buildings, decarbonizing the energy production infrastructure, decarbonizing mobility, and all of these somehow we can actually track, measure what has been done with them and what will be done in terms of CO2. So far, we're looking at very few markets that we call inevitable. So inevitable market to us are technologies that are already mature. We're not talking about moonshots here. We're not talking about something that maybe people will buy in 10 years. We're talking about stuff that people are buying today a lot in the US or in Europe, right? So thinking of EV, for example, right? When you look at EV, it's pretty clear that people will buy EV car in Thailand this year, right? BYD just bought, Samator Group just bought BYD dealership in Thailand, so we're gonna see EV cars, right? As an investor, what do you think of, right? What in this value chain can you see that is inevitable, right? So this is the type of stuff that we look at, and you will see some of the portfolio company we have been investing in are really down that road. Another very inevitable market for Southeast Asia is solar and renewable, right? It's something that has been there for a while now, and this is just, scaling, right? So this is another example. Anyway, altogether, we see an opportunity of 1.1 trillion US dollar in the region for those inevitable clean tech and climate tech markets. Some of the companies that we've invested in are all into these inevitable markets. We've invested mainly in the US so far. We've invested into companies doing building retrofitting in Chicago. We've invested in companies doing recycling of EV batteries in San Francisco. We've invested in companies doing batteries optimizations that can get up to 20,000 times of a life cycle, etc., etc. If you want more information about what we've been investing in, you can look at our portfolio, the Atlas Capital /portfolio, to see some of these details. Now, let me tell you about what is really that tsunami, right? And to us, this is not really just another hype, right? We're not talking about just, okay, this is solar energy is cool, or okay, crypto is cool. We're talking about an economical shift, right? We're talking about a paradigm shift. And when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, to us, it really means that net zero green transition. We believe that this is going to be a tremendous way to create millions of jobs, improve the GDP, and guarantee really a growth for this region for the next few years. So in terms of numbers, if you compare that tsunami to a graph, this is what it looks like, right? You can see the wave, right? So this is the tsunami that I'm talking about, right? We looked at $70 billion investment in climate tech just last year, right? And this thing is just going to grow and grow, right? So this is the wave you all have the chance to ride today. Guess what? Most of the people here in Southeast Asia are not yet looking at this, right? But this is the opportunity for the conglomerates who are positioned well today to create that next X curve for them, to grab that opportunity to distribute those technologies that are inevitable in the US and Europe here in this market. And so when you look at where's the surfboard to ride that wave? Well, to us, this is it, right? Look, most of the other regions have already their surfboard. They're ready. They're ready to surf that wave. But Southeast Asia is really way behind, right? After Africa, can you believe this? Right, so there's really a lot to be done here. And you have already made the first step because you came today. You came today to Southeast Asia First Climate Tech Day. And I hope this will be the first of a long series. We want to do this every year. We want to celebrate those green, positive, and multi-billion-dollar innovations every 8th of May. So thank you for coming today. Hope you had a great first 8th of May, and looking forward to celebrate that day every year with you, hopefully in the future. Now, I'm going to leave the mic to Kukai to share you a little bit more of how you can get involved into that tsunami with us, with Atlas, and with our coalition.
Thank you, John. I'm just going to be situated here. I'm not going to do the Steve Jobs, sorry. So in riding the wave, obviously, just private funding, venture capital funding alone is not enough. We know it takes a village to actually launch a company, especially in hard tech, breakthrough technology companies, not just software companies. So we need a village to make that happen, which is why we've started the Southeast Asia Climate Tech Coalition. This is a coalition of tech leaders, entrepreneurs, corporates determined to build a greener future for Southeast Asia. Of course, we cannot leave the government behind as well, so the government is included in the coalition too. So we believe that together, we can direct $1 billion of investment in climate innovation, market expansion, and commercialization of technologies towards Southeast Asia by 2030. And our goal is really to promote the region's growth opportunities. We talk about opportunities here. Obviously, I mentioned about the problems that are concentrated here, but we see that as opportunities to make a difference, opportunities to make an investment, and opportunities to grow together as a region. We have the needs to decarbonize. We have needs for decarbonizing solutions, infrastructure, supporting the early stage climate tech startups. And why Southeast Asia being our focus? Well, time is running out in our region. So we globally are considered one of the most vulnerable regions to climate change. I mean, just today, I think we are going to hit a record of 50 Celsius in some parts of Bangkok. So the climate change is real. Everyone is really, really feeling it. Time is running out in our region, and it means that $28 trillion of asset values, we're talking about property values, are going to be lost if we do not invest in solutions that are going to add that resiliency, to us fighting against the climate change. At the same time, if you look at the next slide, innovations that are supporting or fighting against climate change, adaptation and so on, already exist today. But a lot of the investments are made in North America, where I'm currently based. So how do we change that? We are desperate. We are desperate for solutions, not just investments, but also not just investing against climate adaptation, meaning that adapting against climate change. We're desperate to be a part of the net zero solution as well. We cannot leave Southeast Asia behind if we want to reach the net zero Paris goal. And that's because 20% of the world biodiversity is based here. Yet, we actually have the highest rates of deforestation in all of the tropical regions around the world. We have 10% of the world's population here and growing, and thereby we actually are one of the biggest contributors to GHG emissions because of our growing cities. That's why we're focusing on decarbonizing Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia green economy is not just about, adapting against climate change, it's about jobs. It's about adding the GDP to our region as well. If you just look here really quickly, green building can boost 4% of the GDP by 2030. We have food and agriculture with 70% more that needs to be produced over the next years to come. Circular economy will also add the jobs and the benefits to the market as well. I don't need to go into the details, but we know that this is not just another technologies or areas of investments, but it actually is an economical shift. All right, so the coalition. We are bringing together the corporates. A lot of you are already sitting in this room, really to make a movement to protect and promote innovative solutions to decarbonize and investing in solutions towards Southeast Asia. And our mandate is really to do three things. It's to attract, to showcase, and to connect. Hopefully, the event that we're having here today already serves the purpose today. The Climate Tech Day is the first of many that we will plan to be organizing in the region. But aside from the Climate Tech Day that we do, we also have conference delegations. A lot of you also have gone with us to Hello Tomorrow in Paris. A lot of you might be going to Carbon Unbound in the US in the next week or so with us as well. We also have monthly dinners with investors, talking and sharing about the companies we like to invest in or the opportunities in our region. We also have a community, a Slack channel currently with global investors, entrepreneurs, from around the world interested in helping Southeast Asia decarbonize. So this is the first of many to come. So I invite everyone here to join us in the coalition today. We're going to have a fun discussion today.
Yep. So,
all right.
This is your time to open your phone and join the coalition. If you haven't done it, I'm going to come back to this a couple of times today, so going to spam you guys, but this is where the discussion is really going to happen. Today there's 120 to 150 people, and you're not going to have the time to meet all of them, right? And I'm telling you, these are some of the best people in my network and in Coca network, something that we've built over really nearly a decade. So if you want to meet them today, you're here, good job. But the discussion is continuing on Slack. So before we get into the actual meet and bringing those amazing speakers on stage, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. So we're gonna ask you a few things. Number one, to silence your phone because these sessions are recorded, and we are using those videos to actually promote what those corporates are actually looking for and to access our global network of accelerators and venture capital. So these videos we're doing today are really going to be used in the future. So we don't want to have a ringing on the back. But guess what? You can use your phone to take some videos, take some pictures. Hashtag Southeast Asia Climate Tech Day 2023. Feel free to share that on Instagram, Facebook. This is helping us out. This is helping to build up that category in Southeast Asia that we're leading of climate tech. And lastly, you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook as well. And if you have someone very interesting you just met, and I'm sure it's going to happen, and you really want to talk with him, feel free to go into the networking room right there, because here is going to be back to back the whole afternoon of really interesting discussions. So with that, we're going to get started.
All right, so first up, our keynote speaker, we have Kun Ponpom Wikatsaid, who's the advisor to the Bangkok governor, here today. Is the keynote ready? One moment.จะเชิญคุณพรพรหมค่ะ All right.
ผมส่งสไลด์ Okay, just before the slides come up, just would like to introduce myself. My name is Ponprom Vikasrath. I'm the advisor to the governor of Bangkok in charge of environmental affairs. So I'm here on behalf of Mr. Chachat Setipan himself. So I would like to speak to you about, briefly for 5 minutes about the role of BMA, Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or the local government in terms of climate change actions. Okay. So first, we always have this two number up, and people ask what it is. Number one is actually done by MasterCard ranking in terms of that Bangkok is the most visited and the most place that tourists would like to come in the world. So we're number one in the world, which is a great thing. But number 98 is done by Economist Intelligence Unit, saying Bangkok is the 98th city that is most livable in the world. So what does it say? It means that we're a city that people would like to come and enjoy themselves. Nice weather, not too nice now, but good, cultural, both, the daytime and also, enjoy themselves in the nighttime as well. But to live here, it's not so high in the ranking and placed with problems like traffic, pollution, which we have passed now. But when we just passed the PM 2.5 season, the next season that comes in Bangkok is the flooding season. Or in between that, you get the heat waves as well. So, and then we also have everyday problems like garbage collection, lighting on the street, canals, etc., which is the job of BMA. Okay, thank you. So what makes Bangkok even less livable is climate change. And you see picture, if you live in Bangkok, this is all familiar to you. We get flash floods, etc. But climate change is making the situation even worse. So in in the period of 9 months between January and September 2021, we have rainfall, which is 46.7% more than the 30-year average. And in September 2021 alone, we had nearly 150% more than September's in the average of 30 years average alone. So this shows that climate change is making a very bizarre pattern happening in Bangkok, especially on the rainfall. Here, if you live in Bangkok or if you've ever visited, we have a not too big, but around 10-kilometer beach coast. But it's not like a beach coast that you think of like Phuket, etc. But we have a Bangkok district, which is by the sea. So this is a destination where some people take the boat out to sea. It's in the middle of the sea. So this used to be the land boundary for Bangkok. Now, if you go and see it, you take a boat out for about 20 minutes. This is to show that this used to be the sea, but now it's right in the water, and the rise of the sea level is very real in Bangkok. Coastal erosion problems is very real. The academia have done some research, that in 20 years, 50 years, it will, take up, reaching the old Sukhumvit Road that is in Samut Prakan district if we don't do anything to combat it. Of course, the carbon dioxide emissions is, again, very much interlinked with the PM 2.5 problems that we face in Bangkok. Yeah. BMA, we have a plan and we try to have a goal to reach a 19% reduction by 2030 and to achieve net zero by 2050, which is 15 more years earlier than Thailand itself. But of course, we may not have the problems with agriculture and methane emissions as much as the other provinces that we do. But again, net zero by 2050 is a very ambitious target, even for just a city alone. But today there are hope, because if you can see from this graph here, we have done quite good work so far. So from our base year in 2013, in the 7 years business as usual, let's say for the transport sector, we were supposed to be at 17.91 million tons of carbon equivalent. But actually, the actual in 2020 that we measured, we are at 11.28. So we're actually 37% below what we were supposed to be. And also in energy as well, we have reduced by 19%. And for waste and water, 8%. And for green area, we have managed to add more green space and increase the carbon absorption than what we expected, increased by 15.56%. So the 4 key pillars that we're trying to tackle for BMA involves the energy, transport, waste, and green space. And these are amongst the issues that the governor is trying to push for. For example, for energy, we have now working with the Energy Regulation Committee to add all the solar panels into our hospitals owned by BMA. There are 12 hospitals. We have now installed more than 25,000 LED lights on the street, which is good for energy efficiency. For transportation, we are focusing solely on the feeder system. So we don't think of the big BTS line, MRT line, but we want to promote the feeder, first mile and the last mile, how to get from your home to your nearest station and from your nearest station to your workplace, etc. And for the bike lanes, we don't want to have like the entire Bangkok being able to, ride your bikes is too dangerous. And, both, you can understand if you're here. But our bike lanes is for the first and last mile, just from the places of community to your nearest BTS station. And just to make sure that there are nice safety locks and everything that people can feel secure when they leave their bike the entire day, when they hop on the SkyTrain. So this is the feeder system in the governor's vision. And we also try to promote the EV ecosystem as well. For waste, of course, we want to start with just separating the wet waste out of the dry waste and the recyclables. So if you know that 50% of our waste in Bangkok is actually organic waste. So if we can separate it out and make sure that they don't turn up into the landfill, we can reduce a lot of methane emission. And the last one is the green space. The governor have plans to plant 1 million tree. And today, so far, within less than a year of him being in office, we have planted nearly 400,000 trees already. And there are around 2 million trees that are being pledged by private companies, by the people to plant with the BMA. And every tree, we know where the location is through our tracking platform and which sort of plant, who's doing the planting, etc. And the last one, we want to promote 15 minutes park. So today we have a lot of parks in Bangkok. Some are in the, in the city center, Lumpini, Benjakiti, that we all know. But some people live far away from those parks. Do they need to drive 40 minutes into those parks, contributing to the traffic problem? No. So we want to promote all the small parks dotted around the world. So 15 minutes park mean that from wherever you are, you can walk to your park within 15 minutes or 800 meters. Not that we want to promote you to spend only 15 minutes at the park. So these are just some of the policies that the governors have already started pushing, and it's coming along well. And of course, we need support not only from the state sector, but of the private sector, the people, academia, civil society, and also from the tech community as well. The last thing that I just want to touch upon is that the governor has a policy, what he calls the City Lab. He wants everyone who is interested in innovation and building through startups, etc., to come and help the city. We will give you the problems. You find the solution. For PM 2.5, we want to give you the problems, what we have, how to create an emissions-free room, how to build a low-cost sensor, and you figure it out. And if you have solutions, you can try it in our city. Use the city as a city lab, hence the name. We can find you an area or a district, and you can try, and we can facilitate. We can get the district director to help cooperate with you. So I think today is a very important day in terms of that many people of the startups have solutions already, and we have the problems. So we can match together, and we can provide space that you can try it out before you scale, etc. I think it's a win-win situation. So I just want to say, it's on behalf of the governor, we want to make a Bangkok livable city for all. We can't do it ourselves. We need the support of everyone. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. ขอบคุณค่ะ All right, that was a really nice presentation. We're definitely aligned in terms of bringing the innovative solutions from abroad to here, where the problems are concentrated, so as the opportunities. So next up, we have Kun Sithisakdi Apichatapnapat, the Deputy Regional Manager for USTDA. So welcome, Ka. Just a moment for the team to bring up your slides. And for new arrival. Yes.
Sawadee krap, and good afternoon, colleagues, partners, and friends. It's really a pleasure to be here today and join you at the Climate Tech Day. And thank you for the opportunity to share some of the work that the US government is doing to support climate-smart infrastructures in the regions. My name is Sithisak Apichatanapat. I'm the Deputy Regional Manager for Asia at US Trade and Development Agency, or USTDA in short. I'm not sure how many of you have had the experience working with us, but as an introduction, we are the project preparation facility of the US government. And, we have and we are one of the many US government agencies working with our Thai partners to promote, to address the impact of climate change. So USTDA, we have a dual mandate, which is very much explicit in the name of our agencies. That is one on trade and the other one on development. On development side, we promote quality, sustainable infrastructures overseas, whereas on the trade side, we help, we like to be that bridge connecting our Thai partners and regional partners with US solution to address their infrastructure needs. And, we have a pretty long track record working in this region. And as you can see here, since our founding in 1992, we have supported 485 major infrastructures projects across ASEAN. And, while our our support is not tied. We're also proud that as a result of our support, we have been able to generate a significant amount of US exports. And you can see here that for every dollars that USTDA has invested, we have been able to generate a record of $117 in US exports. So, how do we do that? We have two buckets of tools to support our partners here. And the first bucket is our project preparation grant, which is really our bread and butter. This is whereby we provide grant funding to help our partners engage with international expertise from the US to support them with feasibility studies, technical assistance, pilots, engineering and designs related to their infrastructure projects. We also have partnership building program, and on a demand-driven basis, we can help organize conferences, workshops, training, especially in areas where the US companies are particularly competitive in. A classic example of our partnership building program is also our reverse trade mission. This is whereby we can bring a delegation from Thailand and across the region to the US to expose them to US technologies and industry expertise. So this is maybe an area that we can collaborate as well. But just to give you an example of our reverse trade mission, just last year, we organized a couple of reverse trade missions for executives from the Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, or EGAT, to the US to introduce them to solutions to accelerate Thailand power sector's decarbonization goals, and help organize meetings and site visits with companies in Washington, D.C., Colorado, Texas, as well as California. And you can see in the pictures here of the delegation at the Tesla factory in Fremont, just as one example. USTDA, we have also supported a number of different climate smart infrastructures in Thailand and across the regions. I see from the guest list that the SCG is also here, so I want to showcase them a little bit, as we have been working with SCG to develop a roadmap to guide the deployment of EV fleets and charging infrastructures across the company's operations in Thailand, which, as you all know, is pretty big and covers over 100 plus sites, and they have 14,000 vehicle fleets under their management. Black & Veatch has been selected by SCG to conduct this work through our grant, and as part of this, we're also helping them design pilot project in 3 sites, which also include microgrid projects and also retrofit of some of their cement trucks as well, which is an exciting project that we look forward to see it coming to fruition. And just to give you another example, just to give you a regional perspective as well, as we have been awarded a grant to a major independent power producers in the Philippines called Aboitiz to support the development of offshore wind power generation in the Philippines. And the study here is being conducted by a US organization called Rocky Mountain Institute, and will provide analysis and plans for implementing wind power projects of up to 10 sites, including an assessment of integrated energy storage system. It's a pretty big project, and I think we are talking about kind of like a gigawatt sort of benchmark. And we have many, many more examples to share, whether it's a smart grid project, a plastic recycling facility, an intermodal project, pump storage projects, really a lot of examples, both in Thailand and across the regions. But, I don't think we have time to kind of dive into these examples. So, maybe this is a kind of a topic for a discussion at another stage. I want to end by saying that, USTDA was formed as an on-demand facility to help. We have niche 2, and our mandate, as I mentioned, is to support quality infrastructure project overseas. So we are very much here to support, companies like yourself. So please do get in touch. If you have project ideas that we might be able to support, we love to have this discussion. And thank you very much for the opportunity to join this important event today. And I hope we can follow up discussion with many of you here to tackle the climate crisis together. Thank you very much. Top and Cab.
Thank you so much. Very, very insightful presentation, and this is an honor to have government really starting this conversation today. So next, I would like to invite Eve Lupin, representing the French Embassy, to share with us what's the vision to help collaborate French companies in the Southeast Asia Pacific region, starting with Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. So hello, everybody. So I'm Eve Lubin. I'm the head of the cooperation and cultural unit at the embassy. But I'm not going to talk about parts of my portfolio, which is culture, French, because it's not exactly the scope for today's meeting. But one of the things I'm responsible for is the year of innovation. France and Thailand decided for 2023 to launch the Year of Innovation. The idea is that basically France and Thailand know a lot about each other in terms of culture, in terms of gastronomy, in terms of tourism, but they don't know or they don't know enough what they are already doing together in terms of research, in terms of innovation, and we thought it needs to change. We need to promote, we need to showcase, we need to link better all this. And one of my job is to work in terms of the continuum between science, research, and innovation, and of course, innovation brought to market. And one of the 4 sectors we identify is environment. And so we go back to the reason you are here, and we are here today, the Climate Tech Day. And I'm not going to go into the details of the agreements or what the France is going to do to reduce net carbon emission. What I wanted to say is a few words on what is being done here in Thailand and in Southeast Asia, and what the aims are and how we think that really this climate coalition can contribute and can contribute a lot. What we know already is that there are lots of innovation. So lots of French business also is active here. A lot of research institutes are active here in terms of bioplastic, electricity production by combustion of industrial waste, plastic film recycling, and we have this know-how, this industrial know-how, which is particularly relevant for Thailand and for the regions. And the idea is really to deepen this cooperation in these fields, in the fields of innovation. For instance, one of the things we're working on is together with the Thai National Innovation Agency to create a Franco-Thai innovation partnerships. The idea is to include collaboration in the field of venture capital and financing of deep tech startup. So this is an initiative within this Year of Innovation, so short we call it YOI. Because Year of Innovation is much too long. But we've been doing a lot of things also with BMA, Air Paris, which is responsible for air monitoring in the Paris region. Is currently working with BMA on a microsensor challenge in Bangkok and Paris. The idea is to test a lot of microsensors to see how they react, to see how they can be improved, to see how the information they give can be used by the government, by the private sector, by also citizens to improve the air quality. And we will have, of course, a lot of booths in everything that has to do with UNSCAP or the National Science and Technology. The idea is really to promote what is being done, but what can be done also in the future together. For instance, we have identified synergies that with the Thai government in terms of energy transition. There is a memorandum of understanding that's been signed, and also on biodiversity, where this MOU is currently under review by our respective administration. We also have a little bit like the US, we have a development agency here, which is called the AFD, so Agence Française de Développement, AFD Group. They work on the whole of Southeast Asia, and they really have for Southeast Asia because, as Kukai said at the beginning, this is one of the regions with the most which is most affected by climate change, which has the most biodiversity in the world. I mean, there are lots of most here in Thailand and in Southeast Asia. And so they have really a green and inclusive mandate. So a lot of different things that have been done in the region. I won't go into details because the names of the projects are quite complicated. But if you're interested, I'll be staying here the whole afternoon, so you can ask me. But I think one or two that I wanted to tell you a little bit more about, at least mention, is the participation in the Energy Transition Partnership of UNOPS, and everything we do in renewable energy projects. For instance, last year, Proparco, which is a branch of AFD, invested $25 million in the development of rooftop solar solutions in the country for commercial and industrial use. And we think that today's event, organized by Atlas Capital, the launch of this climate tech coalition for Southeast Asia, it fits really perfectly into all this perspective of cooperation, because the idea is to promote, to finance new solutions, technology towards decarbonizations, I'm going to make it, in Thailand and Southeast Asia. And I think if there's one thing that we should remember from today's events, from the reverse pitch, is that climate tech exists already. It's available, it's been said, and it's going to be even more available in the years to come. The development of climate tech is necessary, especially, for the future of the Earth, but especially for the future of these regions. And there is also an economic incentive and it's an economic opportunity for investors here. So let's grab it. And I'm confident really that Thailand and France together with other partners, because it's not only Thailand and France, of course, so other partners worldwide, they will be able to join forces to build a safer environment for future generation. And of course, I also hope that this event is an opportunity to strengthen the Franco-Thai cooperation, the Franco-Thai relationship. So congratulations, and I wish you all fruitful discussions. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. It's very important for us to have the government doing the keynote speaking, because the role of climate change, of course, the climate transition cannot happen without the policy, without the support from our government. Next up, we have the CEO of Coral Life, Kun Teparit Tipchat Chatwanwong, coming to talk to you about this building, which is the first certified passive home in Asia.
Yes.
First slides. No, this is the last one. Back to the first slides.
Okay. สวัสดีครับยินดีต้อนรับสู่บ้านของเราครับ Coral Life
Welcome to our house at Coral Life.
Coral Life นะครับเรานิยามตัวเราเองว่าเป็น Low Carbon Construction Solution Company นะฮะสิ่งที่เราดูแลลูกค้าของเราก็คือเราให้คำปรึกษาเราให้คำแนะนำการออกแบบเราสามารถก่อสร้างแล้วก็บริหารจัดการอาคารให้มีประสิทธิภาพให้กับลูกค้าของเราครับ
Coral Life is a low carbon construction solution. Our service includes design, consultancy, construction, and property management.
คุณค่าที่เราส่งมอบให้กับลูกค้าของเราเรื่องที่1นะครับเราส่งมอบอาคารประหยัดพลังงานมากตั้งแต่ 70% เป็นต้นไปนะครับพร้อมทั้งส่งมอบคุณภาพอากาศภายในอาคารที่ดีให้กับลูกค้าของเรา
Our value delivery includes, first of all, an over 70% energy reduction, as well as the highest quality of indoor air.
คุณค่าที่2นะครับเราส่งมอบผลประโยชน์ในระยะยาวให้กับลูกค้าของเราโดยการที่เพิ่มขีดความสามารถในการแข่งขันให้กับธุรกิจของลูกค้าเราครับ
The second value delivery is on the long-term benefits in terms of creating a comparative advantage for your business. This includes an increase in income through well-beings as well as lowering costs of operational aspects.
สิ่งที่เราทำนะครับอย่างแรกเราอ้างอิงนะครับมาตรฐานอาคารเขียวที่ชื่อ Passive House เป็นมาตรฐานอันดับ1ของโลกในเรื่องของการประหยัดพลังงานนะฮะเราเป็น บริษัทแรกใน Southeast Asia ที่สามารถทำอาคารผ่านมาตรฐานดังกล่าวได้ครับ
We use the study of Passive House Institute in Germany in terms of adhering to the highest standard in the way it helps to design energy efficient buildings. At Coral Life, we are the first company to construct, deliver buildings in Southeast Asia, the first that is certified by Passive House Institute Germany.
นอกจากนี้นะครับเรานำเทคโนโลยีในเครื่องของ HVAC ที่รวม 4 ฟังก์ชันไว้อยู่ในเครื่องเดียวกัน เพื่อที่จะควบคุมคุณภาพอากาศให้กับลูกค้าของเราครับ
Here we also deliver HVAC systems that is an advanced air conditioning system with controls on 4 important perimeters to make sure that air quality is at its highest.
ครับแล้วก็ต่อมานะฮะเราใช้องค์ความรู้ในเรื่องของวัสดุศาสตร์ในการทำกรอบอาคารที่มีประสิทธิภาพ เพื่อที่จะป้องกันความร้อนจากภายนอกอาคารเข้าสู่ภายในอาคาร รวมไปถึงป้องกันการรั่วไหลของอากาศได้อย่างมีประสิทธิภาพครับ
We also study and use enhanced building envelopes to make sure that maximize the containment of air-conditioned energy air in this building.
ทั้งนี้คุณค่าที่ 2 ที่เราส่งมอบให้กับลูกค้าก็คือ เราสร้างขีดความสามารถในการแข่งขันให้กับลูกค้า โดยการที่เพิ่มรายได้ให้กับลูกค้าผ่านจุดขายในเรื่องของ well-being ส่วนอันที่2เนี่ยเราลดค่าใช้จ่ายในเรื่องของการใช้ไฟฟ้า แล้วการบำรุงรักษาอาคาร เหล่านี้เนี่ยจะเพิ่มขีดความสามารถในการแข่งขันให้กับธุรกิจของลูกค้าเราครับ
The second value delivery that we mentioned earlier has a lot to do about the well-being and the quality of usage in the building that you are in. If the air is high quality, then it undoubtedly will increase your productivity. The very second one is quite obvious in terms of how it helps to lower your maintenance costs, your electricity bills, and that has a direct effect on the comparative advantage, a long-term benefit for this building.
และนี่ก็คือต้นทุนในเรื่องของการใช้อาคารใน1รอบนะครับเราทุกท่านทราบดีอยู่แล้วมี4สเตจนะฮะสเตจที่1คือการวางแผนต้นทุนอยู่ที่ 2% สเตจที่2คือการก่อสร้าง15%สเตจที่3ในเรื่องของการใช้อาคารและการบริหารจัดการอาคารอยู่ที่80%แล้วก็ส่วนสุดท้ายคือการทำลาย 3% นะฮะ
Our understanding of the cost of a total building, we ought to look at a building life cycle costing, and it can be broken down into, first of all, the planning stage of 2% of the cost, about 15% on the construction. The actual important part is the 80%, which is the usage and maintenance of the building, and finally, the final 3% on its demolition, and that encompasses the life cycle cost of the building.
จากประสบการณ์ของเรานะครับโอนเนอร์ของอาคารเนี่ยโฟกัสเฉพาะในส่วนของต้นทุนการก่อสร้างเริ่มแรกซึ่งคิดเป็นเพียงแค่ 15% ของต้นทุนการใช้งานอาคารทั้งหมดครับ
From our experiences, owners who build buildings has mainly focused on the second part, which is the 15% construction cost. But what's more important is you ought to look at the third part, which is the usage, which is the most important part, the largest part of the building life cycle cost.
จะดีกว่าไหมถ้าเราลงทุนในเรื่องของโครงสร้างพื้นฐานของการสร้างอาคารประหยัดพลังงานตั้งแต่แรกนะครับเพื่อจะตอบโจทย์ในเรื่องของการประหยัดพลังงานรวมไปถึงค่าบำรุงดูแลรักษาของอาคารตั้งแต่แรกเพราะจะทำให้รายจ่ายของตัวนี้ลดลงครับ
Would it be better if one has looked at this graph and look at how better a building can be designed and built in the beginning in order to make sure that the third part makes most sense in terms of its life cycles.
และนี่ก็คือตัวอย่างของbuilding life cycle cost นะฮะเส้นสีเขียวเป็นตัวเลขของอาคารค่าก่อสร้างปกติส่วนสีฟ้าเป็นค่าก่อสร้างของอาคารประหยัดพลังงาน
As an example of a long-term cost savings of a building, let's imagine it is a 10,000 square meter building, and the green line indicates a building costing 350 million baht, where its cost of running it will increase much more exponentially than the second case, a second line where a building is better built but manages well over time.
จะเห็นได้ว่าเงินลงทุนสำหรับการก่อสร้างอาคารประหยัดพลังงานเนี่ยจะเพิ่มขึ้นในช่วงแรกแต่หลังจากนั้นไม่นานเนี่ยก็จะถึงจุดคุ้มทุนแล้วหลังจากจุดคุ้มทุนก็จะเป็นเซฟวิ่งที่เกิดขึ้นจากตลอดอายุการใช้งานของอาคารเนี่ยได้ถึงสูงถึง140%หรือเป็นมูลค่าประมาณ800ล้านบาทครับ
It can be applied to all of our cases. We start off with a building that is better built, a better quality obviously require a more beginning funding, but as time goes by, there will always be a break-even point. And from beyond that point, there will be a saving that is run throughout its course of the life cycle. As an example here, you could be saving up to 40%, which is about 800 million baht over its life cycle on a 10,000 square meter building.
และนี่ก็คือข้อมูลของอาคารที่เรานั่งกันณที่นี้นะครับ
And this is an example of our building here in which you're at today.
พื้นที่ภายในอาคารที่ต้องการทำความเย็นเนี่ยคือ 3,000 ตารางเมตรสำหรับการก่อสร้างปกติต้องใช้แอร์ในการทำความเย็น3 ล้าน BTU สำหรับอาคารทั้งหลัง
This building has an interior air conditioning requirement of 3,000 square meter. Under normal standard design, you would need 3 million BTUs for the cooling load.
สำหรับอาคารหลังนี้เราใช้ Air BTU ในการทำความเย็นเหลือเพียง 500,000 BTU ซึ่งประหยัดได้ถึง 80%
As a result of our optimization in design, we are only using 500,000 BTUs, which is an 80% reduction from the standard.
พร้อมทั้งเรายังส่งมอบในเรื่องของคุณภาพอากาศ PM 2.5 อยู่ในระดับต่ำ VOC อยู่ในระดับต่ำระดับคาร์บอนไดออกไซด์อยู่ในค่าที่เหมาะสมรวมถึงความชื้นสัมผัสและความเย็นครับ
And as well as the reduction in energy usage, the indoor air quality, PM 2.5 is low, VOC is low, carbon dioxide is under control, humidity is at its optimal, and cooling temperature is at its comfortable range.
แล้วก็สุดท้ายนะครับผมก็เชื่อว่าทุกท่านเนี่ยได้ตระหนักถึงว่าปัญหา climate change เนี่ยเป็นเรื่องที่สำคัญและนับวันก็จะทวีความรุนแรงมากขึ้นเรื่อยๆนะฮะจึงเป็นที่มาของพวกเราวันนี้ที่เราได้มารวมตัวกันนะครับขยายพลังเป็น climate action เพื่อแก้ไขปัญหาต่อไปครับขอบคุณครับ
I understand that the climate change is a part of what everyone here is concerned of, and climate action of everyone today together is what tackles climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us today in the middle of this heat wave. Let's not forget it. In actually quite cool temperature. How are you guys feeling today? It's fine, right here. And with one of the cleanest air in Bangkok. And all of this, guess what, is done thanks to energy. We always forgot how much oil, gas, and all of this is actually helping us every day, right? And that's the next panel we're going to have to talk about. Did you know that, for example, for the past 10 years, the CO2 per capita emitted actually have dropped by 5%? This is massive. So we're actually not going like this. We're going like this now. And this is thanks to the effort of energy producers like Gulf Energy, for example, in the room, we have Marty, but also Total and a lot of other producers who have been really heavily pushing the solar energy and renewable with wind for the past 10 years. So what's next, right? So thanks to our team at Atlas Capital, we have a bunch of researchers who research a lot of stuff, including what's next. And we are actually able to know when are the next big thing coming, when are those inevitable markets coming. One example is renewable is great. For days, you can have sun with solar, but what about night? So you need to store that energy, right? When is the time where the batteries will be powerful enough to actually store one full year of energy capacity worldwide. That's a couple of terawatts, right? So thanks to our research, we're actually able to know that type of things, right? Also, when is the next geothermal energy being really ready, for Southeast Asia? When is nuclear power something that people will actually be able to produce in China, right? All of these things are actually things that you can forecast, and you can basically time the market. And this is what we do with Atlas Capital. And with the help of all the corporate partners that we have here, we're always getting closer and closer to that time to market. Now, in terms of Southeast Asia specifically, when we look at the market, we see a $3.7 trillion market opportunity for clean energy abundance in Southeast Asia. And if we look at how other countries are today on the trajectory, Singapore is aiming by 2050 to be fully net zero. It's a massive bet, right? Big, ambitious, hairy goal, as we like to say. Thailand, however, is aiming by 2050 to hit 50%, right? So as a little bit less ambitious, but then how, right? Because we're really not there yet, right? So it's really interesting to look at how each country is actually committing towards those net zero targets. And that's on the policy level. Now, on the private sector level, we have a really different ambition. And that is why I'm very excited to have our panelists coming. So please join the stage with us in a couple of seconds to share what is your vision for decarbonizing the energy sector here in Southeast Asia with all your ambition. So please, I would like to invite on stage our moderator, Thomas. And Thomas will be inviting our guest speaker. Let's give a clap for Thomas. So Thomas, just before he gets on the stage, he's a very impressive German guy, right? But this is actually more than that. One of the person that to me is the most knowledgeable in the energy sector in this country. Having been joining Enapter, one of the largest hydrogen producer company, listed company in Germany, who actually started in Thailand. And you will see like he's very knowledgeable, and I really hope you're gonna have a good time with him and his speaker. Thank you, Thomas.
Wow, thanks a lot, Joanne, and hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be allowed to moderate that energy panel here today. As Joanne has already mentioned kindly, some of you in the room may still know me from my recent position with Enapter. We started Enapter here in Thailand in 2017 as a small startup. Now we're listed at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange with a 400 million market cap, and making sure that what you had on your slide, that green hydrogen is cost competitive by 2035, will happen much earlier than that. But yeah, so in my previous life, before joining Enapter, I was working with the German development agency, a colleague of Seng's, basically on the German side of things. We have been running projects between Thailand and or Southeast Asia and Germany on fostering the uptake. At that time, it was actually solar rooftops. I still have very funny videos from 8-9 years ago where we were trying to convince people that you should put solar on your roofs. And today, if you have a roof, you're really missing out if you're not putting solar on top, which is great, but there's still a long way to go. So yeah, I'm not only a hydrogen and big solar advocate, but climate change and renewables in general, and that's my background. I just wanted to share that with you. And with that, I'll move to the impressive speakers of that panel, and I'll invite as the first one to join Kun Nichan Piramsawat, or Nick, who's a senior investment manager and head of partnerships at PTT Espresso Ventures. So please give him a warm welcome and let's hear his pitch.
All right, it's a pleasure to get to introduce PTT Espresso to you guys today. My name is Nick Nishan Piramsawat, Senior Investment Manager at Espresso, where I lead the decarbonization vertical in our team. So who is PTT Espresso? Espresso is the CVC of PTT, which is the National Thai Oil and Gas Company, specifically the mother company. The assets that are tied to PTT are mainly the trading and the gas business units. All right, and Espresso has been around since 2016. We started investing. We had our first investment in 2017, and right now we've invested in 9 VC funds and 9 directly into startups. 2 of them are are local Thai companies, and 7 of them are international. And we are definitely looking to invest in more startups, and we invest in anywhere around the world with a potential SEA angle, a market entry in the foreseeable future, let's say. And given that, compared to the majority of local CVCs, I would say, we have a more long-term angle, enabling us to work with startups that are without a ready-to-use product, I would say. And our investment themes are in future energy, decarbonization, and future mobility. And for decarbonization, it's namely carbon management, industrial decarbonization, and sustainable agriculture. And we also invest into life sciences, but that might be less relevant to today's crowd. We typically put in $1 to $10 million into each deal, and typically invest in Series A+. We can make exceptions for earlier rounds as well, but especially for local companies and companies with a very clear strategic angle. And examples of high priority investment areas that we are looking at right now are carbon management, carbon capture and utilization, industrial energy efficiency, next-gen energy generation, and sustainable fuels, etc. And aside from funding, we have a sizable R&D department and operations in the entire natural gas value chain that we regularly work with to set up POCs with them. So given that we are looking to work with startups in either an investment role or a partnership capacity independently, meaning that we don't need to have a partnership with you to be able to invest, and vice versa. And that's it for PTT Expresso. We are glad to be part of this climate coalition, and glad to get to know you in much more detail later today. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot. That's already ticking a lot of the questions on my sheet. Next in line is Kun Wanachapon Chiang Mai from Bangkok Industrial Gas, where she is the new business and technology development manager. So let's hear it from Kun Nat.
สวัสดีค่ะ So he already introduced me already, so I'm not going to repeat it, but you can call me Nat. I'm working for BIG. We have a dream to make the world more productive, energy efficient, and sustainable with infinite innovation from the air. We are part of Air Products and Chemical Inc. from the US, who is the largest, the real investment of green hydrogen in the world. And we are now a climate tech company who provides industrial gases with technology and solutions to various customers in various industries, from heavy industries such as cement, steel, oil and gas, petrochemicals, to medium and light industries, for example, electronics, automotive, food and beverage, and hospital. If you cannot imagine who we are, the simplest example in our daily life, you can imagine of oxygen you consume in hospital. But if you think more related to industry, you can think of nitrogen we use in electronics industry to get rid of electronic waste. And with our dream, we are looking for partners who share the same dreams we have, who have the technology of improving productivity, optimizing energy efficiency, and striving for sustainability. We can be both your strategic partners and also investor. With the scale of market that we have and the scope of new technology that you would have, we can be both working together to drive the speed for the industries to achieve net zero much sooner. And in the end, with scale, scope, and speed, we are winning together for driving infinite innovation to the world much faster, cheaper, and better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kunat. And then I would like to invite on stage, it's already been named before, Kun Martin Sintahavararong. I think I butchered that, sorry, from Gulf Energy, where he is the head of international business.
Thank you, Thomas. Hi. So again, Marty from Gulf Energy Development. Gulf is a energy developer that started in 1994. We started in gas to power, but since then we have moved into renewable energy, and that's the reason that I'm here today. So renewable energy, Jean already went over that. Thank you very much. I don't have to go through that whole chart, but essentially what we want to do is build offshore wind farms globally. Okay. Since going public about 4 or 5 years ago, we have projects in Germany, we have projects in Vietnam, and locally in Thailand, we won about, I believe, 2,000 megawatts of renewable energy tender that was announced earlier last month. So I just came back from Wind Europe. That's a big offshore wind energy conference in Copenhagen, Denmark. And there's a lot of opportunities to build offshore wind. We are looking globally for partners. So if you have any new technology, where this technology is going is floating offshore wind. So I just wanted to highlight a little bit about how offshore wind kind of works. So you have the fixed bottom, which looks just like a windmill. Okay, that can only go so far in the ocean because once it gets too deep, it has to be floating. Okay, if you're doing climate tech, that's the future of offshore wind, which is floating offshore wind. So that is something for everybody to consider. And in non-energy business, we are into AI, into 5G tech. So if there's anything related, please feel free to come up to me and we can discuss. We are open to all sizable opportunities for collaboration. Investment size, I just wanted to highlight that as far as offshore wind projects go, we usually look at about a 500 million euro check size. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please let me know. Thank you so much.
Sorry, it took me a while to write down the check number size. Okay, thanks a lot for that, Marty. I'm very excited to hear more about that. And last but not least, we have one startup on the stage. Very exciting to hear more from Bolong Chu, who is the CEO and founder of Solar AI. Welcome.
Thanks, Thomas. I'm really sharing the stage with giants here today. My name is Bolong. I run a startup called Solar AI Technologies. We're based in Singapore, providing a solar as a service model to residential as well as commercial property owners. So Solar AI was first initially incubated and kind of started out of NG Factory, which is a venture arm of ONG Group based out of Singapore. And ultimately, as a business, about 6 months ago, we became the first in Singapore and one of the first in the region to be able to launch a zero upfront cost solar as a service model all the way down to the residential segment. Now, this is not a model which is new globally, right? There are a lot of listed companies, SolarCity, Sunrun in the US, who started doing it more than a decade ago. But our focus is really to try and bring this into the Southeast Asian region. Rooftop solar as a product, I mean, the traditional pitch for customers has always been, say, for example, for a residential homeowner, right? Pay about $20,000 upfront, right? Generally, after about 7 or 8 years, you'll break even on your capital. And then thereafter, because your solar panels are warranted for like 25, 30 years, you'd get free electricity. But to most of us here in the region who don't really know someone else who's had a solar system for more than 2 to 3 years, it's very difficult for consumers to kind of see through that kind of time horizon and take that leap of faith. As a company with a solar as a service model, we essentially turn it around. Instead of paying upfront, we provide a fully serviced zero upfront cost model, which charges customers a flat monthly fee that is already lower than their electricity bill savings, while they are also paying off for the solar system. As a startup, when we launched this 6 months ago, at this point in time, we've signed our first 50 clients. One of the reasons why we've also started getting confidence that this is really the model which can drive solar adoption forward is, in general, our solar as a service models, while they are about a 70% price premium compared to paying upfront for a solar system. The adoption of this, putting side by side kind of upfront purchase versus the solar as a service models are about 70%. And in the last 6 months, we've also been really focused on trying to prove out the unit economics in being able to run these solar as a service projects profitably for all financiers as well. Happy to share a lot more about this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the very interesting intros and reverse pitches. So maybe, yeah, we have 20 minutes to talk. I have a bunch more questions. I think what excited me to actually accept moderating that panel was that Kukai and Joanne promised to hold everybody here on the panel accountable and measure what they actually deliver on the promises today. So everybody listen up what you hear today. I think we'll hear back again from everyone in half a year. And yeah, so with that, maybe my first question to Nick, I understand you're with PTT Espresso, but since you're part of the large PTT group, I think I would like to hear a bit what maybe if you can get a bit more into detail on the kind of startups that you're looking for investments, and for me also very, very important, like the more macro view. How does it, what is the level of ambition? So how much money does Espresso actually invest? I think if I got the number right, then PTT has global revenues of north of 40 billion US dollars, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd be curious to see how much money goes into Espresso.
Sure. Let me answer the latter part first. So we have invested, I think, almost $100 million into all our investments ever since our inception. And we are continuously aiming to invest roughly 20 million every year. But we hope to increase that in a very short timeline because we are pursuing a spin-off from PTT within this year. So really excited for that. And let's see how much the investment capacity will go up after that. But in more definite and near terms, we can invest $1 to $10 million within per deal. And to answer the first part of your question about like the scope and the kinds of businesses PTT invests in, since PTT as the mother company, we are less and less focused on our current assets, our day-to-day operations. It's more about creating entirely new businesses. So PTT, as opposed to other CVCs within the PTT group, I would say that we are more open to building a whole new business from scratch, whether that's a whole new value chain within the clean energy sector, or whether that's other businesses entirely within the broader decarbonization landscape, whether that's, let's say, the production of sustainable aviation fuels. We do not have existing business related to that other than traditional aviation fuels, but we are able to be the entity to invest in and build that entirely. Or even another very good example I would say is in electric vehicles. Like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I think the government has mandated PTT to be kind of the spearhead of Thailand's EV transition, and PTT had to really transform internally really fast to be able to live up to that mandate to bring Thailand's EV transformation from being an oil and gas company, but we need to really head into EV, which today we have made significant moves. For example, in setting up a production facility for in partnership with Foxconn for EVs in Thailand. And for Espresso, we also have invested in funds that are directly about future mobility, and also in a couple startups in the future mobility area directly. I can give you an example, which is Ample. It's a battery swapping startups from California, and they don't have operations in Thailand now. In fact, they only have tens of locations in only several countries. But that is an example of an investment that we can make that is super forward-looking. They have no concrete plans to move into Thailand at all, but we see that with our mission and with our ambition, we can be the ones to partner with them and bring their operations, bring their technology to Thailand and be the local scaling partner.
So would any investment you said you're relatively, so if I understand that correctly, you're relatively free from PTT on what investments you can actually make. I'm assuming you have a general direction on fields where you invest, but apart from that, you say you're not improving any existing technology, then you're building new ventures and building new companies. Is there or is there a stricter mandate, stricter guidelines that you have to follow? And maybe a second part of the question, is your modus always that you only invest in technology that can be used in Thailand, or is it independent of that?
Sure. We are also interested in investing technologies that we can use for our current business, but not as much as entirely new businesses. And as for the sorry, can you repeat parts of your question again?
Yeah, no, I was if all the investments need to be something for the Thai market, or does it have a broader angle? So thinking Southeast Asia or...
Yeah, so it does not need to be part of the Thai ecosystem, but we need to think about the strategic fit. And on like the present basis, the majority of our influence and our strategic relevance is with Thailand. So we want to look at opportunities where we know we have, let's say, an unfair advantage compared to other players in bringing those technologies to Thailand. Broadly, we look at what PT can provide in terms of competitive advantage to work with selected technology startups and together create new winning businesses in the decarbonization sector. Wow. And scope is not very clearly defined because we know that it doesn't make that much sense to define such a turbulent business right now. But we prefer to be more on our feet and study each high priority vertical one by one, and then we decide after that.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Then maybe a question for Kunnat. Since I'm from the hydrogen field. You do industrial gases. I need to ask a question about hydrogen, but maybe let me frame it a little broader. So industrial gases is your business. Industrial gases often have a very strong carbon footprint. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what is BIG's plan to reduce carbon footprint of industrial gases?
Sure. So for industrial gases, recently we have built the new plant in Thailand, the first one in Southeast Asia, to reduce the electricity consumption to produce the industrial gas 30%. So that will then reduce the CO2 footprint to our customer. And that is our goal. And we not stop, keep improving. We utilize or leverage the digital era to use it to optimize our plant operation, to further reduce the production electricity consumption to get much more lower or green industrial gases. So that's what we are currently doing.
Okay, so in the case of hydrogen, because I know that best, I think only improving processes is probably going to be difficult, right? So hydrogen is made from, currently hydrogen is being made from basically breaking up natural gas into CO2 and hydrogen, right? So if you want to provide hydrogen, you need to make it from a different source.
Correct. As BIG, we are part of Air Products. And Air Products, if you search from Google, we are the only one who make a real investment on green hydrogen, the largest one in the world. But to make it green, yes, we need a scale. So we need to select the right country to produce or to invest on the facility to have a totally green hydrogen. What do you mean totally green? So you need renewable power to generate the electricity and then use it for electrolyzer and then use it to produce the green hydrogen. And then for transportation, you also need to use hydrogen in ship or boat to ship it. So you have a totally green hydrogen chain to use in energy sector.
That's true. Unless you happen to find an electrolyzer manufacturer that makes very decentralized electrolyzers, but
Like in NAFTA.
but I'm not working for NAFTA anymore, so that was not. Okay, right, thank you. And so, Marty, now every time I see you, I'm thinking about numbers that don't fit on checks anymore. But if I understand that correctly, these are investment sizes that are largely geared towards projects, right? So you're not so much focusing on, we have the CVC here on stage. I understand that for Gulf is not so much like picking up the startups, but rather like identifying, sourcing the projects and then going into the project. So maybe you can spend a few words on that. But then also, like, what is your, I remember there was an announcement with the digital asset exchange a couple of years ago. So apparently you bring in innovation through joint ventures or partnerships. What is your vehicle to pick up technology from startups or to pick up startups into the corporate structure?
So Gulf has two businesses. The core business is the energy business, and I'll cover that. Along what Nat said a moment ago, I'll go over hydrogen. So hydrogen is a unicorn to me because I have not seen it, and many people talk about it and say that yes, we have projects. I'm waiting to fly somewhere to look at one, and this is from major players in the world to smaller startups that say that they have some form of some color of hydrogen. And yes, we want green. And we've been looking for opportunities to take a look in Europe. The friends at our U.S. Embassy have also mentioned that the U.S. will be the next boom in green hydrogen production. And we're also looking at Australia, where I'll be going in a couple weeks. So if there's something going on there, please let me know. I would love to go look at it. But if not, then we'll keep waiting. But yeah, there's a whole value chain in the hydrogen production. So there's a lot of opportunities there, from producing it to storing it, shipping it. I know I have friends that are trying to develop storage in the U.S. for hydrogen. So a lot to do there. And okay, non-energy business. So we own InTouch, and they own AIS. They also own Tycom. We took that out and we bought Tycom. It's a satellite company. I suppose 5G is the next thing that we've all realized, and we partner with Binance to operate the digital trading platform. We're not going to trade in the coin, so don't start asking me about getting wallets and whatnot. I don't have anything. I have a real wallet. Okay, so. Things like that are what Gulf is interested in. It's what the digital future can bring, and we will invest in sizable opportunities. We are very flexible, and we are considering all sizable opportunities. So there's nothing set in stone that we look at. I mean, we've had funds that we invest in. We've had pitches for different techs. I will let you know that we have not invested in a battery production company. Many have come by and said they have the latest and greatest, but we will only buy the latest when we need it. So, when we need for solar farms, for example, that's the opportunity that we will buy a battery, but we have not invested in a battery company. In Thailand, we also have a solar rooftop company called Golf One. So if you have anything related to that we can partner up with, that'll be something we can explore. But bottom line is we're happy to explore partnerships or investments. Just drop me a line. Thank you.
Okay, very concise. Thanks a lot. Wulong, so I want to ask you, you can basically shed some light from the other side. So I would definitely like you to elaborate a bit on the pros and cons of corporate venturing. And your experiences with that. But maybe a second question, if you allow me. I'd be super interested. You mentioned in your introductory statement that solar as a service is new. In fact, that has happened in the US 10 years ago. Why is it needed to adapt the business model to Southeast Asia? Why does it take 10 years and new startups to actually make it fit? That'd be very interesting to know.
You know, I think that's a great question. And I think my answer to the two questions are actually quite related. For a bit of background, before I started working on solar air technologies, I was first working full-time for NG Factory, which is the venture arm of ONG. At that point in time, and in general, I mean, Joanne Kukai has mentioned this earlier, I think one of the reasons why we are so excited about the space at this point in time is that there are already a lot of mature solutions within the space, right? And these are just solutions which are now better, climate focused, but then what's really needed in the region is to try and just shift adoption forward, right? Try and encourage adoption, and there's a lot of business model innovation that can be done that way. When we're looking at kind of this segment and the reason why solar as a service hasn't really taken off in the region, I mean, in the last couple of years, we've been thinking about it a lot. Ultimately, a lot of that boils down to consumer adoption in terms of awareness, in terms of understanding of the product, and then thereafter also kind of like the cost curve, right, of where rooftop solar is. Ultimately, the higher you scale, the more you're able to bring unit costs down, which then allows these solar as a service models to start to cross that threshold wherein you are able to profitably, for project financiers, right, finance a rooftop solar project, and then yet on the other end for consumers to achieve or enjoy like a lower cost of solar on a monthly basis without putting any money up front. So as a company in the last 1 year, we've really been focused on trying to drive that forward, right? But then there's still a lot more to do in order to continuously reduce all those different pockets of unit costs in terms of how much it costs to build a solar plant, in terms of how much it costs to service customers. And so as a company, we're really like tech focused in trying to drive down all these cost levers. Yeah, I mean, I think like then the question about kind of corporate venturing, that's like a really long extended answer. I mean, but in general, like as a startup incubated under a corporate venture, of course, we see that generally, and quite a lot of your questions to Nick as well alluded to what is the strategic synergies. These are all things that we need to keep extremely at the core of how we collaborate with the corporate business, right? Because ultimately, the support that we get from the corporate should ideally stem, in my opinion, from synergies rather than just kind of like a pure financial investment. And that's really how a startup within a corporate venturing model can drive ahead the best.
Okay, I understand. So from what I hear is maybe also taking into account what Marty said is like you said you can actually invest, but you're buying the product when it is needed, right? You made critical comments about, for example, green hydrogen. Everybody's talking about, but where are actually the projects? And many of them are delayed, which I can support. That's true. So the question is a little bit. We're talking here about climate tech for Southeast Asia. Is it then correct to say that we will probably, when climate tech here is deployed, it will probably not be the top of the spear, but it will be more established technologies that have taken the time to show that they work and maybe have the business model innovation to make it fit for the market here. Are that the solutions that we're seeing? So maybe keep that question in mind, and every one of you. We have 2 minutes left, so everybody maybe has like 30 seconds. Leave the audience with the commitment or what to keep in mind from when we hear from you in 6 months. What will we be asking you about what you delivered in the next 6 months? And maybe we do the reverse order. We'll start here.
I mean, I think like as a startup, we're still a young team, but extremely ambitious. Over the last 6 months, we've managed to launch these solar as a service models to Singapore within the residential segment. Over the next 6 to 12 months, we're really focused on bringing this same model also to the small, medium commercial property owners who also don't have access to zero upfront cost offers, and then thereafter, start to expand this across the region as well.
Okay, so for us, I hope that in 6 months we can announce that we have more partnerships in offshore wind development somewhere. The most recent one is in the UK. It's a 1,500 megawatt project that we closed a transaction, but we continue to find more projects and partnerships. My tip for everybody here is, you know what, you got to talk to everyone. If you believe that your startup or your product or your service is the one, you will find a partner. It's a numbers game. You just keep talking to Atlas, to everybody that's involved here. Thank you.
So for BAG in 6 months, we believe that with the scale of market we have, we would like to find partners, a new technology that can help our industries to help achieve the sustainability by improving the productivity or optimizing the energy efficiency. And we want to be a strategic partners or even an investor to help drive the innovation and technology to those industries to make the market adoption faster. And that's my commitment.
All right, and for PT Espresso, since we've begun investing, we've mostly invested internationally. That's because we were really focused mainly on the technology side. But with decarbonization, and we see more of a reason to look locally, because we realize that there's a lot of localization needed for many solutions to be effective. So in the next 6 months, we aim to really work with and get to know all the relevant startups in the carbon management and carbon abatement vertical. So if you are startups within these categories or broadly in decarbonization, we would really love to get to know you and discuss working relationships with you.
All right, thank you very much. If I were to summarize quickly in one sentence, I think super interesting panel. We probably need another 20 minutes to unpack, but I think what I heard, what we're left with is that Marty is saying we hopefully hear another announcement of a big wind park in 6 months. Nat is saying they're looking for a partner that improves their tech, energy efficiency, and productivity. I think Nick just put himself up to a lot of work. He wants to talk to all startups that are in carbon management and abatement. That's great. And then Bolong, you're saying you continue to deliver on bringing solutions to those that previously had no access. So I think there is a few commitments here. So with that, thank you very much, and back to you guys.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everybody, really, to join us. This is such a small category today, right? Nobody knows about climate tech yet. Look at us. We're a full house today. We don't even have enough seats. So thank you so much for coming. And please, I would like to invite the next speakers to come in line. And we're going to have the next moderator as well. All right. So low carbon mobility, starting in 2 minutes. Let me tell you that we have a lot of research on what's going on in this market. We're really bullish in the EV space, and specifically because batteries are Asian. If you look at the production of EV batteries worldwide, companies like BYD have a waiting list that is 3 times bigger than Tesla. And we never talk about this. And most of the lithium and rare metals that are being used for batteries in the EV industry are actually Asian. So that's just on today's paradigm. And if we look at the next paradigm of hydrogen, hydrogen today is Asian. We're talking about 90% of the hydrogen produced today coming from Asia. So if Singapore is talking about becoming a hydrogen country for all their propulsion, it actually can happen. Now, if we look at the market specifically, this is a $90 billion market just in Southeast Asia, so enough for a few players to really game here. And we are specifically interested into enabling of that new low carbon mobility infrastructure across trucks, commercial vehicles, EVs, or being hydrogen, etc. So without further ado, I would like to invite Stanley, our amazing moderator from New Energy Nexus, to get on the stage and to introduce all the speakers for this great panel.
Thank you, John. So Just as a quick introduction while everyone's getting water, New Energy Nexus, we're a global organization. We're the world's largest climate and energy accelerator. So we have about 15 offices. We run a number of programs supporting entrepreneurs to develop the climate tech that we see today and that we're talking about today. So we focus on 4 specific verticals: renewable energy, energy efficiency, industrial decarbonization, and also in the mobility space as well. So that's the focus of today's panel. And looking forward to having our panelists come on stage and do the reverse pitch. So first off, I wanted to, is Vicky here? Yeah, Vicky. I wanted to introduce Vicky Janssens, General Manager of Southeast Asia for the Click Foundation. Good to see you again, Vicky.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vicky from the Click Foundation, or this is short for Foundation for Climate Protection and Carbon Offset. We are a private entity that has a very clear legal mandate under the Swiss CO2 law. So under this law, the Swiss motor fuel importers have the obligation to compensate some of the emissions from the road traffic by supporting projects either in Switzerland or abroad. And we are fulfilling this legal obligation on their behalf. For projects abroad, the framework under which we are working is the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. Some of you might have heard of it. Basically, a part of this Article 6 allows a country like Switzerland to support financially for programs into climate protection in another country, for example, Thailand. And then in exchange, the Swiss government can count the reductions of CO2 emission to help achieve its own NDC. And the goal is to help those partner countries to raise their climate ambition. So you might be wondering why I'm here, because we're not a startup, we're not a big corporates, usual type of investors, we're not governments, but we are very interested in supporting programs into climate protection, and there is quite a lot of money for this. So we have a huge appetite. We are looking into programs abroad that can help us achieve our target of 20 million tons of reductions of CO2 emissions. We have only 11 countries where we can do that because it depends on a bilateral agreement between Switzerland and another one. Thailand is the only one in Asia at the moment. So for this, we need partners, startup, big corporates, investors, ideally all of them together. And why working with us rather than a voluntary carbon market, for example? So first of all, we pay a higher price than the voluntary market. We have a fixed price that we agree on a contract with the company, with the partner, until 2030. And then we agree to purchase the real reductions of CO2 emissions. So you don't depend on a volatile market. We have funding available also to design the project. One disadvantage, of course, is because we are under a government-to-government agreement, then process can be a bit lengthy. But at the same time, we work under a compliance market. So it means we are under pressure to achieve our target. And so you can count on us as a reliable and also quick partner. And that ensures more security for the partner. And then because we can ensure the highest quality in terms of environmental integrity, ambition, additionality, real reductions of CO2 emission, also contribution to sustainable development, avoiding double counting. All this is usually helping for a VC, for example, to improve its reputation. So. And then in terms of sectors, we're interested in many different sectors: renewable energy, biogas, energy efficiency, e-mobility, waste management, green cooling, sustainable cement, sustainable rice. I'm sure I forgot some. It always depends on criteria of the two governments that are partnering together. But for Thailand specifically, we know that they're asking us to look at programs that require a very large investment and to bring new and advanced technology. So this is why I'm here today. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Vicky. Looking forward to hearing more about those projects later on the panel. Next, we have Sebastian Depew, Vice President of Conglomerate Investment Holdings for Siam Motor Group.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kukai and Joan, for inviting me. Siam Motors Group. So usually we don't participate to this kind of events. I guess I represent investors here, and because of Joan and Kukai invited me, I am pleased to have a speech with you. Saya Motors Group, 70 years of existence. We have 66 this year portfolio companies. We have been built over JVs, strategic partnerships with European and Japanese companies. The consolidated revenue of the group is $7 billion per year. We employ 23,000 staff. We are present in Thailand, but not only, in ASEAN, Laos, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia. We have $3.5 billion asset under management. We run multi-asset class strategies. We are heavily invested in private equity, of course, but we have also a broad portfolio of real estate, credit, financial asset, public asset, fixed income, and stocks. We run also a private family office, which is the second investment vehicle, which is designed for the next generation, where we invest in more aggressive, growth-oriented startups, early-stage companies, climate, which plays also the role of incubator for the conglomerate. So we see a huge opportunities in electrification, of course, but if we start from the battery making, our group sees a big opportunities upstream and downstream. We won't go in the battery making business. Energy storage, automotive software, AI applied to automotive, wireless battery management system, big data analytics for commercial vehicles, fleet management. Two-wheelers represent good opportunities also in Southeast Asia. And tier 1, tier 2 EV components. This is where we will go. How much do we invest? We invest from $1 million to 60, 70-ish million dollars per deal. We plan to do 2 to 3 big deals per year, and then a series of smaller deals on the early stage. How do we invest? We invest either in individual startup or through VC managers. Okay. And why Saya Motors Group is a good partner, a strong partner for climate tech venture, strategic alignment, 70 years of track record in the automotive, industrial manufacturing sector. Industry expertise, founders and startups have access to a very large network of engineer, expert, leaders in those industries. So a huge network. Long-term view, I think that is very important. When we invest, is buy and hold. We never exit. We invest for the very long term. Our roadmap is 70 to 100 years. Very, very similar to an endowment approach or strategy because we are backed by one single family. So we plan for the very long term and multi-generation. Value creation, we are usually minority partner, but we are active and we are happy to collaborate with our partner and create value. And so we thank everyone here and we are happy to explore and create a better future together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian. Next, we have Kun Norasok Supakon Thanakit, AVP, Strategy, Development and Investment from Energy Absolute.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Norasak. You just call me Kim easier because I got a very long name. I come from Energy Absolute, or you can call EA. In EA, we have 3 business sectors. The first sector is biodiesel. So we have 800,000 liters production capacity per day. And then we have the green diesel that we produce from the used cooking oil. We start export to Europe already and then successfully accepted by the UK and EU countries. And the next thing that we want to develop in our biodiesel business is the sustainable aviation fuel, which we are currently upgrading our plant to produce that SAF by, I think, mid of next year. So we hope that in the future, the air transport will be more green. But because I think it's a bit difficult to use a battery for the aviation because of it may be a bit scary. The second one, we have the power business. We have the solar farm and wind farm. Together is 664 megawatt. And we continue to look for the opportunity to invest more. The third one is our, I think the largest sector at the moment is the EV ecosystem. We have the battery factory. We reached 1 gigawatt hour production capacity last year. And this year we are expanding to 2 gigawatt hour and to 4 and 8 gigawatt hours later. We also have the assembly plant for the commercial bus and a commercial vehicle, for example, like a garbage truck, a tractor, and a truck. So we can tailor-make all our product because we have our own battery factory. And also we have the EV charging station, and technology we have is fast charge, 50% up to 15 minutes up to 80% of the battery. And in the future, we are looking to do more like a recycle of the battery or the use of the second life cycle of the battery as well, maybe in the energy storage system. For the startup, we were looking many deals. For example, like we are looking at the cold chain company in Thailand, a startup company that try to use our EV truck and then incorporate in their fleet. So we are quite open and willing to collaborate with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Chutimon May Sangin from the BTS Group.
Hi, everybody. So I'm May from BTS Group. And before anything else, I just want to say when you hear the word BTS Group, I'm sure most of you will think of the BTS SkyTrain that you probably took on your way here. But we're actually more than that because BTS Group is comprised of 3 core businesses: Move, Mix, and Match. Now, Move is our multimodal transportation solutions that includes our rail network that extends over 140 kilometers and our non-rail networks such as, but not limited to, intercity and city buses, motorways, and the highly anticipated Utapao Airport, which is set to transform Thailand into the aviation hub and economic gateway to Asia. Now, as for our mix is our offline to offline platform solutions that includes our advertising, payment, and distribution services coupled with our smart data analytics to generate proprietary data, which will be used to enhance our reach to customers. Now, to tie this all up, our Match business is our strategic partnership arm, which focuses on leveraging the smart data to enhance the synergy and sustainably grow for business growth for our 3M business as well as our business partners. Throughout all of this, since inception back in 1999, BTS Group has avoided up to 1.9 million tons of carbon dioxide. And to top it all off, we've raised over $20 million through sustainable finance to mobilize capital towards low carbon infrastructure. Now, all of this, we were able to achieve carbon neutrality back in 2020, and we have been the world's most sustainable transportation company for 3 years in a row, as ranked by the S&P Global. Now, all of this to say, I think most people forget that we've been electric since 1999, and so the question for us in 2023 is how do we make something relatively clean even cleaner? So that's when we come in, and as of this, at present, most of our tactics have been more geared towards energy efficiency and increasing our renewable energy consumption. However, our investment areas are, for our rail first, focuses on improving energy efficiency through tech-based solutions and as well as increasing our use of clean energy throughout our entire rail network. Now with this, 10% of our electricity is from renewable sources, but obviously this number will grow further in the coming months, actually, due to the solar installation projects we have set to commence on our pink and yellow line depots. But obviously, we don't want to stop there. We want to power 100% of it with clean energy and provide that as a mode of transport for our passengers. Now, aside from our rail network, we have our non-rail business, which basically the sky's the limit, and it's basically how do you become better by being cleaner. And so with that, it's whether that's supporting our inner city bus decarbonization of that service, or either to set in stone that vision we've made for Utapao Airport to become the smart and sustainable city, and possibly a climate positive one. The sky's the limit, and the investment support that we can give you, whether it's a partnership or investment, is funding up to $20 million US and being access to the proprietary data as well as prototyping facilities and talents. And together, we really hope that your innovations are borderless and there's really no limit here. And so, so I'm happy to share more about that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Oh, really looking forward to this panel. There's fact sets of experts from every mode of types of transportation and across the whole value chain as well. So let's kick it off with Vicky. You know, last year we were on this kind of a similar panel. You're announcing your big project with Energy Absolute with the e-buses. Can you give us a brief update about that project and where things are at now?
Yes, sure. So the last panel we were together was in August last year, and then we were about to start the e-bus program in Bangkok. So I'm sure now quite all of you have seen the first buses from EA that are running around Bangkok. So we're very proud because this is the first program that we have done under the Swiss-Thai collaboration, the bilateral agreement that we signed in June last year. And then there've been buses, now you correct me, Kong Kim, but I think already 1,000 buses that are running in Bangkok. And then so the reductions of CO2 emissions from these buses will be purchased by the Click Foundation and then given to the Swiss government. Where we are now, a milestone that we achieved is in March, the two governments authorized that program to work under Article 6. And this is an important step, not just for this program, but in the Article 6 framework that is still very, very new, is the second program authorized in the whole world and the first one in Asia. So it really sets a framework, not just for Thailand, but for the region, and then other examples for hopefully a lot of other e-mobility programs under Article 6. And now EA and the carbon consultants, South Pole, and their colleagues, they're monitoring and then analyzing all the data, the reductions of CO2 emission from buses last year, from October to December. And then there's a quite long process to make sure that these reductions are real. It might take a few more months, but then hopefully this will be the first transaction of those reductions of CO2 emission in the world, because again, this is the second project in the whole world that is happening under Article 6, and that could be the first one. But I think for technicalities, Kun Kim would be better to answer.
Great. We'll get to him in a bit. And then so from start to finish, what is the total duration this will take? And also any other new projects in the pipeline that you want to share with the audience?
So our timeline framework is end of 2030, because this is Paris Agreement. This is the bilateral agreement that we have to. So we signed together for 500,000 tons of CO2 emissions reduction by this 2030. This is the equivalent of a bit less than 2,000 buses, but we're already at 1,000 buses. So hopefully we can sign for more buses. That will depend of also the Thai government. And then right now we are looking at a program on sustainable rice, alternate wetting and drying, where you use less water to reduce the methane emission. We receive a concept proposal. We have good feedback from the government, but we need their approval in writing before we can start developing the program. And that would be in central provinces, all around, it's 15 provinces. It's interesting because it's actually a Thai startup, a daughter company from PTTEP, and they have developed an app where they can, that are linked to satellites, so it's real monitoring from the reductions of methane emission, and it calculates directly those reductions through the app, and also the number of carbon credit that the farmers could get from this program. So we really hope that it goes through. That would be a very different setup than what we had with Energy Absolute. And otherwise, we're looking at different types of biofuel programs, from bioethanol, from cassava starch waste, for example, turn into biofuel or sustainable aviation fuel. Like this is something we're happy to discuss. Sustainable ACs, but also other type of EVs. So there are a few ideas of flowing like e-trucks, e-tuk-tuk, or long distance e-buses that are more than 300K. So in terms of infrastructure, that would be more difficult to implement and more challenging, more costly. So that's why I think there's interest from the Thai government. Then otherwise, there are plenty of other area, green cooling, district cooling. We're not excluding carbon capture storage, but this is something very expensive. So we have to see if this is doable.
Great. Plenty of opportunities for large companies and also entrepreneurs alike. So moving to Sebastian. Siam Motors Group obviously has a wide footprint, right? From all the different industries that you're in. How do you take a look at, the new energy strategy and the strategy to decarbonize, and how do you start and attack that?
Yeah, so we try to connect the dots. So just as a refresher, Siam Motors Group, we still have the word motors, but we are a diversified conglomerate. We have 6 business lines: automotive OEM, auto parts, construction, hospitality, education, and real estate financial investment. So we see the next steps in terms of new energy, climate tech, renewables as a holistic approach, and we try to extend each of our business line to its successful next step. So the basic question we ask ourselves when we meet startup or new project is it our next Hitachi? Is it our next Komatsu? Is it our next Nissan? Because we see that from a long-term perspective. So for each of those business lines, we have clearly identified the targets, the sectors that we want to be in. And we are happy to partner with startup, but also conglomerate like EA, like Gulf Energy, and synergize. And make sure also that it benefits Thailand employment, and Thailand growth. Okay. Maybe you know that our family office, not SMG directly, the family office brought BYD to Thailand, which is a good first step. But now we are looking more at manufacturing, IP in Thailand, bringing technology and product in Thailand. That's a very important part of our mission.
Great, thank you. And can you give an example of some of the climate tech investments that you guys have made, and how does it contribute to overall company's growth and profitability today?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, we have invested in drones and helicopter startup powered by Yamaha technology to spray fertilizer to be more efficient and so on. So still nascent, very fragmented industry, does not contribute too much to the top line, but it's a long-term shot. We are happy to stick to our plan for the coming decade as we see the potential. Very direct investment, maybe a bit outside of the startup world, but we have developed and built a 33 smart building, office building in the heart of Siam called Siam Patum One House, which is fully certified, fit well, LEED, environmental, wire score, energy efficient, where we bring and we display also the strengths of all our partners like Hitachi and Sumitomo Construction. So yeah, this is how we synergize in the group. Another startup is facility management, because we are in the real estate development. Facility management software, application, connected to smart cities. We want to leverage our properties. So try also to connect our buildings to other buildings and sell this solution to other building owners. And lastly, not yet invested, but we are talking to many, of course, Chinese players, now European players, thanks to the big push of Thai government and incentive and BOI. So very involved here to bring them, partner with them to solidify or grow the EV supply chain. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Kun Norasak. So Energy Absolute has been the leader in many different electrification of transportation projects, right? I just, you mentioned just the sustainable aviation fuels one. So how are these projects usually originated and funded? Like, where does the process start?
There are different process. I think thankfully we have Kun Sampot. He's a founder and CEO of Energy Absolute. He's a visionary guy, so he introduced a lot of ideas and then let the team work, develop the ideas. Also, we get a lot of ideas from the business partner, like Wiki, like all of our vendors, and also for the employees as well. We can initiate the ideas and propose to the management team, and they think if it's feasible, then they let us to develop the project. Yeah, and for the funding, normally we have two tranche of the funding. The first one is a traditional one, is a debt, and also with the equity side. But equity side, we don't look for the raising the new capital. We just reinvest the free cash flow from the operating cash flow into the new business. And for the non-traditional funding is, for example, like the program that we do with CRIC, the carbon fund that support our EV bus project, for example. And we are working on the new untraditional funding as well, but I cannot tell you at the moment because we are a listed company. So it's a bit secret. Yeah, we hope to launch soon.
All right. Then maybe any new initiatives or projects that you can share with the audience?
Yes, I can share what you have a bit seen on the press. For example, like the e-locomotive that we co-developed with the CRC of China Railway. And then we put in our battery into that locomotive and change with the diesel locomotive. So we have 2 locomotives at the Bangsu station at the moment for the trial run. And I heard it's went quite well. And after that, there may be some order from the state railway. Let's see in the future. For other product, we also develop another, we have the e-ferry in the Chao Phraya River. We will add more. And then we are developing a new product on the water transport as well. So yeah, that we hope to introduce and surprise you soon. For the commercial vehicle, for example, like EV garbage truck, we hope that to let the government or the municipal in Thailand to adopt the EV garbage truck because, like in Bangkok, we have more than 2,000 garbage truck. And then if we can replace that with the EV garbage truck, it will reduce a lot of carbon and also the PM 2.5. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Kun Mei, so you shared a lot about the BTS group and all the business units that I'm sure a lot of us in the audience didn't really know about. So what about the sustainability team? How do you approach a sustainability strategy for the group and the different business units?
So BTS Group has been primarily focused on maintaining and achieving carbon neutrality ahead of the Paris Agreement. I think the first company to actually achieve carbon neutrality was Google back in 2007, and we were able to do that in 2020. And so with that, it's been trying to make that and maintaining that and keep up with it. So that's either through the provision of low products and services and improving that, or improving our energy efficiency. And in recent years, it's been focused on increasing the use of renewable energy. So that's the primary focus of the team. Yes.
And you mentioned some of the sustainable finance that the group has gotten. Which focus areas does that financing go for?
So I think the first bond we did issued was a green bond. So it's primarily focused on mobilizing that towards low carbon infrastructure. But then as of late, we've been more focused on the issuance of our SLBs, and most notably the latest SLB available to retail investors. So with that, it's basically broadening our scope of investment to be more broad in terms of sustainability. And with that, it's been primarily focused on energy efficiency as well as clean energy in line with our strategy.
Great, thank you. And maybe a question for all of the panelists. You know, since this is about electrification of transportation, what would it take for us to really drive a mass adoption of electric mobility and electric transportation solutions in Thailand? Anyone can start first.
Yeah, I think first of all, I think you need to use our bus. There's 1,000 buses out there, and it will be increased into 3,000. I think in the mid of this year. So yeah, please, and also e-ferry. So if you took the one ride, we have a cab fare, 40 baht, e-ferry and bus. So that will help a lot.
I think if I may
Please.
give an input on this as well, I think for most people, I think the BTS was actually many of their first electric vehicle. And so with that, it promotes this model shift, lifestyle, more sustainable way to travel. And so along with EV ferries and EV buses, there's also the electric train.
Thank you. Yes, so it's about the electrification for us, not only. We bet also on other technologies like hydrogen. We should partner with a German partner. I think the big players are waiting for volumes and scale. Today we are building the infrastructure, but economically, from a financial investment perspective, is still challenging. So I think that's the next step for a big push in electrification is financial returns and make the figures add up. And this will come with volume, with more volume. Education also, government could push a bit in terms of education, awareness about EV, the performance, the benefits. Policies, there is a good set of policies in Thailand, but could be even extended, like what has been done in Europe or Singapore. I think there are good practices that could be expanded in Thailand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think among the different companies or stakeholders I've been talking to, they always mention two main challenges for EV is infrastructure and finances. Because even with EA, I mean, for any program that we would do, we need to prove financial additionality. So EA came to us, even though it's a very big corporate, because they wouldn't have a business by making e-buses. There's no subsidies from the government. So if you want to change thousands of buses from IC to electronic buses, you manufacture them. They have digital ticket to connect them better and then connect it with other EV transportation. They added lines, so it's better connected to other public transportation. And this year, only return on investment is 15 baht, I think, per ticket. So, I mean, nobody will start that kind of business. So I think finances, it's really a lot. It can be climate finance, carbon finance, anything. It could be also linked to policies. So that's why we're happy to look at some more EV programs. And yeah, the infrastructure, actually also something where we are looking at because it's the beginning of the electrification. This is where you need the most money. This is the most challenging. But without the infrastructure, you cannot move anywhere. So
great, thank you. So we have a couple minutes left. I really love the commitment question, right? So, I mean, I'll give you guys a little bit more time, right? So let's say 1 year, right? We're on the stage again next year at this event. What are we going to say we've achieved or committed in terms of low carbon mobility? Anyone, please, first.
Yeah. Within 1 year, probably you will see with us 1 or 2 big partnerships with Chinese or European player. You will see us invest in more in venture capital dedicated to climate tech. Yeah, without revealing too much. But yeah, we have a budget earmarked for those technologies, and yeah, it will happen. We have also decided to spin off a business line entirely dedicated to climate and sustainable energy with their proper team and proper budget. So that's a big commitment for us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I think for the biodiesel, we commit that we can produce the sustainable aviation fuel. I think by mid of next year. For the EV business, we commit to expand our battery factory to up to 2 gigawatt hour. And then for the commercial product, I think of course, the bus will go up to 3,000 bus in Bangkok. And then we try to expand it further. And also we try to introduce other lines of product of the EV as well for Bangkok and Thailand. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I think for BTS Group, it's more broadening and really honing our motto in borderless transformative solutions, so specifically in MOVE. So really, I think just solving the most challenging problem about public transportation is the first to last mile, right? So obviously going to the BTS, sure, sustainable, but then from your house going to the station. So making that whole way of commute being possibly net zero or clean. Aside from that, it's also to increase the use of clean energy within our operations. And that's something we're really excited about in the coming years. And yeah, so we hope that new startups and innovations can help us achieve that even faster than we hope to. But all of this also depends on the supply itself at the source. So with that, we really hope that we could help nudge in some way, increase clean energy sources within the Thai grid as well. Yeah.
Thank you, May.
So for me, I would say I can commit to continue making more known about this possibility, Article 6, but we're not developing programs, so I cannot commit on any program or on any EV. What I can say is that we're ready to spend $100 million in Thailand by 2030 for programs, but it really depends on you. If you don't come with any programs that we can support, then my colleagues that are working in Ghana and Senegal and Uruguay, they will develop the programs over there. But we're really hopeful that there's a lot of potential in Thailand. So please come, don't be shy, come talk to me, and then we can see together what kind of program we can develop. So this I can commit to talk to as many people as possible to find programs.
Great, thank you, Vicky. And at New Energy Nexus, all we do is run programs. So if we support entrepreneurs getting into the climate tech space. If you're looking to start a business in energy or mobility, climate tech, let us know. Thank you all.
I had the biggest smile on my face. I'm not sure if the panelists noticed that. It was kind of creepy because that panel was so hopeful. Thank you so much for sharing this. I learned so much, and it really shows the commitment. I think we should do this theme every year, the commitment piece. So we'll ask, every 8th of May on the following year if the commitment has been followed through. Thank you so much, everyone. So next up, I had lost my clicker completely, so thank you. So we are, running out of time. We are about 40 minutes late. So thank you so much for staying here with us still. So I'm just going to skip over quickly on the research side of things here. If you'd like to see the research from Atlas Capital, feel free to, email John or myself, and we can share that with you. But the next panel that we're going to be talking about is really around the concept of net zero cities. And it's very timely because we're in the only passive home certified in Asia, in Coral Life today. And by 2050, I didn't know about this too, but our civilization will be building from scratch an equivalent of New York City-sized building spaces in every 2 years. So how do we do that? How do we build climate resilient, circular, and net zero buildings at scale without having to fix them later? So I'm very excited today to welcome my partner in crime, John Fall, to be moderating this panel.
All right. So thank you. So this is one of the most favorite topic I have. Why? Because I believe there is a whole infrastructure paradigm to be reinvented. around what we call circularity, right? If you think about it, every day you come, you wake up, you use some energy, you take a car, you go somewhere. All of the stuff we've been using for the past 200 years is the same, right? Since the second industrial revolution. And all of this is basically taking materials, trashing it, taking materials, trashing it, taking energy, using it. Is there a way our civilization can coexist with the biosphere? And if it is, there's only one manner that this can actually materialize, is by reinventing how our cities are on a more circular manner. Not destroying to exist, but how to use together on a coexisting manner that is circular, and that's what is sustainability at the end. And as Kukai mentioned today, we are in this building. This is one of the first steps, right? But it's so much more. What about waste, right? What about water? What about cement, right? And we've got the pleasure, really, with Kukai, my partner in crime, to meet so many of these interesting players who are trying to build that new momentum, to materialize that new revolution in how we live, where we live. And I believe Southeast Asia, and Thailand specifically, with Singapore, and have this advance, this thing you can see here, and that is the future of every other emerging market. You know, Africa, South America, they all have the same issues. They all have the same demographic. So if you look at how Southeast Asia is going to evolve with that net zero building aspect, you can basically see the future. And that's basically how you can make money as an investor. That's basically how you can thrive as an entrepreneur. And this is a topic we are very excited about. So without further ado, I would like to invite on stage the people shaping this. So please, I would like to invite on stage, oh, sorry. But before that, I completely forgot. We should do, we actually have invested in companies that are doing this. And we would like to just show you maybe a couple of seconds, maybe 30 seconds of that video. So this company is named Zoben. They are based in Chicago, and they are doing building retrofitting. As of now, 70% of the buildings in the US are about to be retrofitted next 20 years. I think for Southeast Asia, where the number is around like 47% or something. So every buildings are being retrofitted because that's the law, but also because that's how you save money on electricity bills. And Zoben is actually turning very old, boring buildings into those amazing biophilic designs buildings. This is the Apple store in Chicago, you can see. And they're basically turning these buildings to be carbon zero or close to carbon zero. So if you want to have more information about Zoben, you can check out our portfolio on our website, theatlascapital.com/portfolio, and you will see Zoben and other companies. Anyway, I think we're running out of time, so let me bring the speakers on. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So I would like to invite on stage Antonio, founder of Formwork.io. All right. Give him a clap. All right. Please come over.
So what if we can reverse the correlation between urbanization and carbon emissions? And what if we can upcycle greenhouse gas that would have otherwise made its way into the atmosphere and storing it in our buildings, coastlines, and cities permanently? I call this concept urban carbon removal. Now, to store greenhouse gas in cities, we need to redesign from the fundamental building blocks, which are building materials. And with building materials, and we can apply these in mass quantities with carbon removal built in. We can transform new and existing buildings, even cities, into giant carbon sinks. Now this way, we can lessen the impact and save carbon as we build by removing greenhouse gas through our building materials. Now decarbonization in built environment, it becomes a complex problem, as we all know. Consider this, the global building floor areas is going to double by 2060. And much of that rapid urbanization is happening right here in Southeast Asia. And when you look further into it, with all the new construction between now and 2040, bulk of that emissions is going to be embodied carbon, up to 57%, surpassing operation carbon, which is your aircon, your lights. So before becoming entrepreneur, I was a practicing design architect, specializing in green buildings and master plan for over 20 years across North America, Europe, and Asia. I was convinced I was part of the solution to climate change until I realized the buildings and construction sector's global carbon emissions, it's remained stubbornly at 40% year after year. So I decided to chart a different course by starting Formwork.io. So for the past 2 years, our team at Formwork.io has been working hard trying to come up with a carbon removal technology that deliver on that promise. That products for the next generation building products while upcycling CO2 during the process. So for our first product is a concrete paving block that's up to 70% recycled content, emits zero carbon, and on top of that, removes additional carbon to arrive at carbon negative. And in addition, we're using bio-based ingredients such as algae, indigo, and used coffee grounds as pigments as part of our color offering. So with your support, we hope to accelerate our work. We hope to deliver on an ecosystem of similar products and reaching exponential amount of carbon savings. I would like to invite you to join us and work with us in our pilot program to lessen the impact and save carbon as we build. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would love to have SCG actually watching this. I think SCG is here today, but they are going to talk at the next panel. But this is really, a cement alternative. So very, very interesting. Next, I would like to invite Methin, if you want to come and share what you're doing, because this is also about design and architecture. So,
afternoon, everyone. I didn't expect to be the second, but I probably know the least in the net zero category with my knowledge, because there are so many great qualified speakers today. But I think we are considered a small part in the industry, and we play the front end role of the industry because we are architects. So we design building based on the brief. And the key thing is, I think we truly believe that it would be probably impossible to achieve net zero, I must say. It is a nice term, but the reality is with the growing population, I think we all have higher demands in life and higher living standards. So I think that, but we believe in creating the right balance in everything, really. Whether if you design anything too excessive, if you design something below standard. So when the balance isn't there, you begin to create all kinds of issues relating to environmental issues, especially because, I mean, take some quick example, which we can go into discussion soon. The basic needs of human beings, you don't need much. Everyone needs probably about 150 square meter worth of space to 200 square meter for a family. But the reality is there will be some people living in a tiny micro flats, and there will be some families who have privilege living in 2,000 square meter house of 3 people. So I think that's why the balance isn't there. And the energy consumption relating to all the carbon issues have been created. And I think that's the kind of balance I'm talking about. So when we strike the right balance and we understand how we can approach the initial design stage, that can actually help to contribute back into the environment and the growing society and this particular industry. And of course, from those criteria, we believe to have implemented something called passive design, which is the fundamental of the design, the basis of the design. It's something very simple, really, because we believe passive design contributes probably the first half, the first 50% of the entire the design the process. Because if we had this building without shades, of course, you would be fighting with the heat, direct heat. And if we design something with some shades, that means you're protecting the heat from the building skin. And when you're providing something physical to the building, it will last, you'll stay with the building for life. Once we achieve the physical design, then we can implement the technology to it. So that means the technology will be, for example, where we are standing today, the coral. This piece of equipment or whatever they are trying to help the world and making the business will contribute another 50%. So when you put the two things together, then we can strike the balance of the fundamental of the design and the technology together. So I think the discussion that we will be having today is probably will not be concentrating on the net zero topic alone, but we'll probably touch on various aspects of environmental issue. I think that's the key that we would be very interesting to contribute, as much as probably I don't have much knowledge on the law, on the net zero, sorry. So, okay.
We'll do our best. Thank you so much. Just take a seat. All right, round of applause. Thank you, guys. Next, I would like to invite Sayapong from Coral Life.
I'm Sayapong, and first of all, welcome everyone to our building, Coral Life building. Coral Life building, this building would be the first building that we target at the first stage as we design to be a net zero building. So I'm the one who involved from design, piling until gather all finishing together today. And this event will be the first event. So sorry for any inconvenience, and everything is on me. So after the section, if anyone have any question, feel free to ask me. I'm willing to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we have Esther from Capital Development Limited in Singapore. Aditya, are we okay? All right, cool. So, hey Esther, can she hear us? Yes? Awesome. Great.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Hi, this is Esther, and just a correction, I'm from City Limited, CDL. Yeah, so we are actually headquarters in Singapore. We operate in 29 countries and regions. And I personally have started the so-called, CSR and sustainability journey since 1995. So, well, I have seen the progress, and I agree with the other speaker that it is a real big challenge to talk about net zero building. But over the 2.5 decades, actually, I have seen a lot of progress, which I remain very positive that we are not at the tipping point. We're at the turning point where technology solutions and design and materials are a lot more available than before. And just now we hear Antonio talk about cement and all, and then so as a developer, when we get hold of a plot of land, we look at it from design perspective. You can design and maximize the ventilation through orientation, and we have actually adopted AI and digital twins to help us reduce heat gain right from the beginning by almost 20%. Okay, and then we also procure sustainable building materials, and I must say that currently it's still very challenging. Now, of course, we hope to have more, materials that the other speaker is talking about. And in fact, we have been also doing some R&D to adopt, use some plastic waste to form sand aggregate to make into cement. And a lot of things are happening. And for CDL, we have actually built and owned 2 net zero single-story building. One was opened in 2013, one was opened in 2017. And last year, we have actually accomplished to set up a mixed development, which is super low energy building standard in Singapore. So we hope that, by 2030, we will be able to, see the next multi-story net zero building, because it's a journey. You can't achieve it overnight, but it takes all hands, on deck, from the one who designed it, from procurement, from management perspective, operators, and even our tenants and building users. And people spend about 90% indoor. How users use our buildings also make a huge difference. Cities account for only 3% of land mass, but account for over 75% of natural resources consumption, and also produce 50% of waste, and account for 60% over greenhouse gas emission. We know that cities and buildings and transport are the biggest contributors. So we know that we are in the position to drive change, and we remain very positive that we can, pull our resources and ideas together to, to work towards a net zero future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. So now you guys can understand why when I met Esther last month in Singapore, I just got so excited to put together this panel with her. Like, she's really insightful. And Singapore, to be honest, is one of the place where you can really see what a green city is, right? When you go to Singapore, it's a bit like you're going to the future. So without further ado, I would like to ask the question to a panelist, and maybe to Mathin first. We talk a lot about net zero buildings. We hear a lot of startups on prop tech, guys like Antonio and Formwork, and these technologies sounds really good. But as an investor, there's always this thing between what sounds good, what's the hype, and what is actually feasible, what is inevitable. And so, what are the technologies that you see into that net zero buildings, materials, energy efficiency management, etc.? What are those technologies that, as an actual architect, as an actual designer, you are going to use next 5 to 10 years, or that you see are incoming, right? That are ready to be used, not just moonshot, right? We'd love to hear from you, and then after from Coral Life as well.
I think the question is asked in the right place, actually. It's this. I'm not saying this because James is a friend of mine, but the reality is his aircon and ventilation system, I didn't actually understand or believe him, to be honest. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when he approached me, when he came and talked to me, and hey, Mathin, I'm building this showroom, and I'm trying to create this new technology of the ventilation and aircon, a cooling system, to reduce the cooling load by 70% plus minus in a public building. Because we also have, in my firm, we also have engineering department, and by far, for a low energy design building, we can reduce as much as 30, and that's it, like gold medal to us already if we can reduce 30% cooling load. So, being the friend, I said, no, James, no, I don't think it can be achieved. So he just believed his own thing and spent 2 tearful years, I think, creating this showroom that we're in at the moment. And until 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I brought my engineers and my partners, my board of A49, to witness the system. So this has proven the belief that with the right mindset and the vision and a lot of experiments that he had done for the past 5 years, certain things can be achieved, and the technology, as you asked earlier, we, as in design business, we like to see proofs. I don't know about others, but when we see catalogs, we have millions of them in the office, all these brochures and fancy catalogs, but there's not many technology or equipments that can be proven, like where we are at the moment, that you can actually see whether it actually works for real or not. And as you can see, outside is today reached something like 42 degrees, which feels like 50 degrees today. And we are experiencing the heat wave that we've never had before in Thai history. But when we walked in, the environment has been cool. And from what I have been informed, that this building uses 30% of the cooling load as the conventional building, with their design process and their specification. So I think with that kind of technology would help to reduce the energy consumption in all kinds of the buildings in the future. And it can be seen today, I mean, present, because it has been experimented. So I think the next thing is we just need to make sure that the market, the industry is convinced with this system. And one thing touching on to Kun Esther's speech earlier, to help the world, I mean, to help the environment, it's not only the developer, it's a contributions of everyone, even starting from my side. But we need to educate the market, because I mean, the low energy approach or the net zero is still pretty new in Thailand. So it's not that everyone is fully aware of the problem, because by the common standard, if you talk to anyone on the street, it's very hot. What do? You turn on the aircon. I think that's the solution. But no one actually ever concentrate on how do we tackle the building skin? How do we use the right technology to assist your property, your homes? But the contradiction at the moment is, sorry, maybe it's not the right thing to say, but that's from my experience, not from A49, but my personal experience is, the market is still perceived the aesthetic over the whether you call it the technology or the passive approach. Because I have seen a lot of people or developers, Thai developers, they don't mind importing Italian stone 5,000 miles away to Thailand and place on a building, and then everyone can appreciate it. But they would not prepare to invest on the good skin system or the technology to help them to reduce the environmental issue, or even the money. The environment comes with money anyway. So I think that's something that the entire industry needs to educate the client. No, it doesn't mean they're wrong or they don't understand anything, but it's just something that is too new for them. So the moment we educate that and make them aware, right, you need to invest on to something more fundamental rather than something. Because I often say to my clients, listen, the Italian stones or Italian taps, 15 years down the line, you need to replace them anyway.
That's why I want to have your opinion, and I really want to have Antonio feedback from the market as well, right? Because in the same time, when a technology is ready, how hard is it to change the behavior? But before that, I want to ask Esther on her view, because they are scaling a lot of projects, what are those technologies as well? And what are the technologies? You mentioned digital twins. This is software. This is good. But what about hardware? What are the technologies that you see being implemented in your company or that you see having high interest from your customers to be actually deployed on the ground? Esther, you hear us?
Yes, well, totally agree that, the consumers, green consumers, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Hello? Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, certainly there are actually it is really a journey. When we first started, honestly, no customers really appreciate what, green building is all about. In Singapore, BCA, the Building and Construction Authority, we have a green mark here. So whether it is green mark platinum or, gold plus, it doesn't affect the pricing because the consumers were not ready 15, 20 years ago. But if you fast track to today, the appreciation of, green building standards and, certifications certified building are a lot better. And especially we are, may not be as hot as 40 over degree, but we are also next to the equator. And in fact, we tested quite a number of projects that actually is very well received now. Even we turn to nature for solutions. And in 2014, we actually completed a project called Tree House with providing shadings to block, a block of 24-story high buildings that is west facing, means they have a lot of afternoon sun. And with this vertical green wall, it actually helped to shade and cut off some heat by up to 3 degrees Celsius. That was actually concluded by a university study over a year. And in fact, there's another one. It's a very, very exciting pilots that we have actually conducted at Phuket, Chun Salon, and nearer to Bangkok. And we're very excited about the pilot results that we use something called a cool paint. Basically, the cool paint work is to reflect heat. It actually helped to reflect heat by about 96%, and also have an element that it is self-cleaning. And the first phase of pilot that we use the cool paint for its facade, help us to cool down temperature by up to 8 degrees Celsius. And we are still continuing on the next phase of pilot. Can you imagine if we can really be successful with this cool paint? It will be a game-changing, technology. From the outside, you can actually cool, the indoor, internal temperature. And there is a whole host of technologies that we use to achieve our net zero buildings and all. The latest one that we achieved for a mixed development, quite a sizable mixed development, we even, tap onto not just solar, not just green feature, blue feature, water feature. We also make use of the so-called using the district cooling and spreading from actually Marina Bay area to the CBD area. So our development called 80 Anson Row is the first mixed developments to actually adopt this district cooling. And it has actually helped us to achieve the first Green Mark Platinum super low energy mixed development. So we are very hopeful, but we need to try. Not every pilot is successful, but I would like to share that there are some, ups and downs. There are some, some win and some losses. So, but we try, from how we design, what we procure, how we construct the building, and how which is also very important. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So you guys all see that Thailand needs also to improve the internet before the buildings. 4.0 Thailand anyway. So this is really where reality meets the dream, right? We all dream about these new materials, these new technologies, and we hear that there is some that actually bring us to reality, the heat, right? So we talk about these cooling paintings, which are real climate adaptation technologies. If you think about this, right? Because it's not even, it's too late about building retrofitting. It's just how do we adapt to not just be too sweaty at home, right? Without using too much aircon, right? So those painting technologies are here. But also, if we look at step back a little bit, and if we come back to our real question, right? Towards 2050, there is one New York City being built every 2 years, as Kukai mentioned. So can we build it with alternative cement? What's the actual reaction from conglomerates in Hong Kong or in Singapore or in Thailand when you come as a startup entrepreneur and you bring them to the plate, these innovations? Tell us the truth. I want to hear like how ready this thing is, right? From the client side,
Well, I mean, I think one thing I maybe like to bring into this discussion is I think one thing I didn't really hear today, and versus some of the conferences I've sat in say Hong Kong, recently Singapore, maybe in Europe, is the mention of ESG. So that is
we don't know about this here.
Huge. I think it was in every other sort of topic or presentation. And that seems sort of real. So for me, I'm hopeful in that sort of ESG and sort of the mandatory or becomes mandatory, scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions will sort of come into effect. And then I think the corporates will feel a lot more pressure to at least sort of do something about it. And with the carbon tax coming into play in Singapore later this year, with carbon tax already coming through in Europe, I think it's only sooner or later that it would slowly sort of, we'll all feel it. And I think, so what we have set up to do is, obviously we knew it was going to be very difficult in terms of sort of adoption, in terms of, and it's a long road. I mean, materials are hard. That's why no one's doing hardware, as you well know, as a hard roll. And so, but we're hopeful in that we are targeting scope 3 emissions. No one's looking at scope 3 emissions. Everything about scope 1 and scope 2 in the real estate, it's about energy. It's about energy, it's about bringing renewable energy, it's about cutting down your energy consumption. And as I mentioned, if you look at all new construction from now to 2040, 57% is in scope 3.
Yeah, so the government plays here is going to really have a massive impact on the development or not of this industry. So if we think of a pilot like Coral Life, this building we're here today, thanks to our host, how real is this to actually have that on a larger scale? How real is this to have, let's say, 10% of that New York, in Thailand for the next expansion to be actually built on a similar fashion? And what will be the actual policies that will be required for such a project to be scalable? I think this is really the point now, right? Because as we heard from Antonio, it's really about those subsidies or those taxes, right? Like in the US, we have those taxes that are really pushing to that the emergence of that new market. In Singapore, we do as well, right? So what will be the kind of regulations that you've heard of happening in Europe or in the US that actually helped create those passive houses on a larger scale? Because in Europe, it's very common, right? We're talking with Kuka in North America, passive house, everybody have a passive house, right? So what have happened with the government policies to lead to that point?
Oh, it's a hard question.
You got 4 minutes, man.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. To be honest, to me, I think leaning on the government policies in Thailand is
or in Southeast Asia, what you've seen?
Southeast Asia
not necessarily
particularly.
Thailand.
It's a long way to go. So it's really long way to go. But what Coral Life think and we have achieved this building is really depending on the owner mindset. It's more important to me. And I totally agree with Kun Metin about the mindset of the owner, because what make the project that based on the passive house standard happen, we need to reverse the process, because particularly in Thailand or Southeast Asia, I believe that once the project begin, the owner will discuss with the architects about how the building look good, and how the function they need. But no one really serious or begin with the energy using in energy consumption in the building. And once the design is go like over than 70%, then they push it to the mechanic things to solve or serve for the energy saving. And that's what happened in Southeast Asia. So with our technology now, okay, we can spend the money to buy the electric mechanics that can save the energy, but it's not perfect. And that's why in Southeast Asia, we are talking about renewable energy, like putting solar cells, planting and everything. And that is the supply side. No one discuss about demand side, using the energy in the building at first, right? So the color life change and reverse the process. We are thinking about how we consume energy at the first stage of the design. And we found that it's work if we can, reverse mindset of the owner. So that's why this building be built, because we talking about this concept for like over than 5 years before to many owners. No one believed that. With only the concept, with even in the Europe, they have many buildings that already achieved, but they will say like that is the Europe zoning, the cooling zoning is not in Thailand or Southeast Asia. So that's why we try to prove that it can be built if you reverse your mindset, put the energy consumption at the first stage, and we decide with the ethic together. Yeah.
Thank you. So if I can recap what I understood, right? It's about reversing the narrative from energy production to energy usage.
Yes.
And also, it's about taking a leap of faith. And that usually is done by the owner, right? So even though the public sector might not be pushing through it, we can see that first leap of faith from the owner, and that's the client that will help push through that new industry in that country. Okay. And then for technologies that might be ready, this is true, of course, government policies that we will see, more adoption of those owners, but also about market education, right? Because those technologies are here. It's just taking that leap of faith on the owner side, right? And we can also learn from Esther that it's doable, right? In Singapore, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So why not in Thailand? Why not in Vietnam? Why not in Indonesia? Right.
Actually, as a technology, we all have all technology already, but what happened? Why the net zero building not have in Southeast Asia? Because we have the product that claim that they save energy, all they save energy, but no one take responsibility to take care when it is gathered together. They just say like, okay, our glass is saving energy, our machine saving energy, all saving energy, but no one can take part to gather it together and take responsibility to achieve the target as the energy consumption. Yeah.
So that's where the policy will come. But I think today they went to the event. This is a good thing already. We got the government coming. This is a good first step. We're not going to ask them too much for the bills, etc. We're going to wait for a little bit. Well, thank you so much for these insights. Thank you, Esther, to join us from Singapore. Looking forward to do an event together in October in Singapore with Atlas Capital. Here is a little bit of advertising, by the way. Our next event, October, Atlas Climate Tech Day in Singapore. We need all the help we can get to make this happen. So please come come talk to Kukai or me. We have a great team. We have the energy and I think we have the network, right? But it's just about activating that. So we're looking forward to continue the conversation on our Slack group, the Climate Tech Coalition. For those who are not in the Slack group, please join, because this is just a little glimpse of what's going on in there. And this is really a truly global network we have there, as you can see. So yeah, looking forward to continue conversation now in the networking area. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more panel conversation. So while I wait for my team to switch to the next slide, thank you so much for the discussion there. I, again, was nodding and smiling the whole time, looking really creepy just because I really enjoyed the conversation. So the last panel discussion we have here is a topic that is quite near and dear to my heart. It's on air pollution. And air pollution, of course, comes with what's called the CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and storage. These are the technology areas that I see very often in Canada and in the US where I'm based. And I'm very excited to see what Southeast Asia can actually do. So if you actually look at the stats here, I'm not going to go over it. And again, if you like any research from Atlas Capital, please email John or myself, and then we can share that with you. But what's actually quite interesting is that Southeast Asia is predicted to be able to do the CCUS 55% out of all the potential CCUS in the world. And I didn't know that before. And the reason of that is because we have emitter companies that are based here. The emitting companies who, a number of them are in this room, who have committed to the net zero, who have committed to investing in and scaling in the solutions to decarbonize their systems. Another reason of that is also the biodiversity. Because we have the natural-based solutions that can actually capture and store the carbon forever if we do choose to protect it or also grow it as well. So I'm very excited to welcome Kun Sit, who is our advisor to Atlas Capital, who's been working with us for the past year or so to moderate the panel.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for staying. This is the last session, and I'll try to keep it interesting and not drag on too long for you guys. But so before I introduce the speakers, I just wanted to add on to what Kukai said a little bit. And the last session was on net zero cities. And why are we talking about carbon capture and clean air? Well, each year we globally emit about 52 billion tons of CO2. And that stays in the atmosphere a long time. It stays in the atmosphere 1,000 years, actually. And just naturally, there's not enough natural absorption of that CO2. So we have to talk about ways to remove some of the carbon, store it, potentially put it to other use. Closely related to that is clean air, which is the Bangkok Governor's Office talked about this morning. Those of you who live in Asia, Southeast Asia, we deal with clean air issues all the time. It's not directly the same as carbon in the atmosphere, but it's something that affects the quality of life and is related to agriculture burning and the wildfires caused by extreme weather. So we're going to talk about some of these things today, and I wanted to introduce our speakers on the panel. I think, so the Bangkok Governor's Office is no longer here today. Okay, so we'll start off with left to right, if that's all right. So we'll start off with Mr. Bastian from Ecologic Circle, one of the startups that will be presenting today. Thank you.
It's on. Hi, I'm Bas from Ecologic Circle, a co-founder. Ecologic Circle is a agro waste processing startup in the carbon mitigation, I would say, and clean air space. Although it's still in startup phase, it is a it is riding on the shoulders of a existing company in the sustainable rice area. A key aim we are trying to tackle is tackling the rice, the reduction of burning, open crop burning. You will have heard a lot about open crop burning in the region. It is very extensive, 4 months a year. It is a massive amount of burning. If you look at satellite images, it's entirely red, and it is right across the region, not only Thailand, but also the broader region. The governments have been trying hard to ban burning of agro waste, and they have not managed well. They have, it is very difficult to enforce it because the farmers continue to burn. And the process has, the burning pollution leads to a, the burning pollution leads to not only a negative effect in terms of health, it also leads to a negative effect in terms of the broader pollution. What is actually the emission that is formed is also is from the straw, but also from the burning of the soil. The burnt soil is the microorganisms in the soil is also burned, and that makes the soils a lot more sensitive to the need for fertilizer, and highly dependent on chemical fertilizer, and chemical fertilizer actually has a heavy carbon footprint. The carbon footprint, sorry, I'm really messing that. The key thing that we need to achieve through the fertilizer, the key thing we need to achieve is stopping the burning as well as using more biofertilizer. We are in the processing of the straw. Ecologic circle creates a disincentive, offers a disincentive to rice farmers to grow more, and through a process of offering value to the farmers. The process is a pulping process which enables us to extract cellulose from the straw, which is itself is which itself is has a market in the paper industry, as well as can be molded into packaging products. A byproduct of the pulping process is biofertilizer, and across the region, rice is a major crop across the region, and therefore processing of the rice straw, there's an abundant amount of raw material, and we aim to process or convert more than 1 million tons of straw per year. And we have, in the process, we would actually capture or mitigate 2 million, more than 2 million tons of CO2.
Okay. Thank you, Ross. Yeah, look forward to hearing more from your product on the panel. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Elisa, who's visiting us from Hong Kong. So Baz represented the startup on our panel, and Elisa represents an accelerator from Hong Kong.
Thank you, Sid. Hello, everyone. Sawadika. I'm Elisa from RIC, Sustainability Associate Program Manager. So we are a global venture accelerator based in Hong Kong since 8 years. And we started our first sustainability vertical 3 years ago, and since then supported more than 50 entrepreneurs in food and ag technology. And now we're moving into carbon removal with our new accelerator in climate tech. So we are interested in any kind of carbon capture, utilization, storage technology, and also enabling technology. We're interested in full-time founders with a prototype and annual gigaton reduction potential at scale. So we think our program is unique as we are offering relevant resources for founders to accelerate CDR in the region. So we offer catalytic funding. Any team who is joining the program is insured investment, and we support follow-on investment and post-program portfolio support. We have a global network, so all the startups are going to get connected to follow-on investors, mentors, and corporate partners for addressing the specific challenges they will encounter. We also provide scale-up support. So we have test facilities partnership for direct air capture and ocean carbon removal to enable scale-up support. And then we provide tailored support to our founders. So we really want to have small cohort to provide a customized curriculum to our founders, depending on their specific challenges they will have to address. So a high level of our program, we're going to cover 6 modules with our curriculum. So modules are ranging from finance, team, market, pitch, technology, and impact. And the different format will be one-on-one meetings, group session, or workshops. Yeah, so the next cohort is gonna be announced soon. And if you are interested to join as a founder, application will open as well in the upcoming summer, or if you want to support as a mentor or corporate partner, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisa. Okay, and for our third esteemed speaker, we have Kun Patapon from SCG, Siam Cement Group, which is one of the oldest conglomerates in Thailand, also one of the most innovative, and the microphone.
Thank you, Kun Sid. I think you pretty much cover all about my companies already, but I'm Tay. I know my name said Patapon up there, but in Thai systems, we have nicknames, so you can call me Tay. I'm the fund manager in SEG Deep Tech Fund. SEG is short for Siam Cement Group. Although we have cement in our names, we have been much more diversified than we have been in the past. The company is a publicly traded conglomerate. We have been around for more than 100 years old. What else? We based in Bangkok, Thailand, although our business is right now has been expanded all across the world. But our focus has always been Southeast Asia, especially in the high growth areas like Vietnam and Indonesia. The company, our Deep Tech Fund, many of you might have heard our funds called Adventures. We have 2 separated funds. One fund focused exclusively on digital business model funds. The Deep Tech Fund is more focused on hard tech, hard science problems and innovations. So we use these funds since 2018 to scout for new technologies across the world. So far, we have 15 portfolio companies, mostly in US, in EU. We're trying to use this fund as a way to find new technologies to help decarbonize our industries. So the company right now, like Kun Sid said, we have cement, which is one of the most carbon-intensive product. We have chemicals, we have packaging, we have logistic networks all across Southeast Asia. So there's a lot of touching point between a technology provider and our company, which in the past we have been suppliers, customers, distributors, etc., etc. So I guess with that, yeah, glad to be a part of the panel.
Thank you very much, Kun Tay. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a good cross-section here of startups, corporates, and accelerator. We were hoping we had the Bangkok government is here as well, but they had to leave early, unfortunately. If you guys were not here earlier, the representative from the governor's office was talking about City Labs, which seems to be an opportunity for startups to collaborate with the government and solve problems that the government has already identified, and actually give you the space and the resources to try to find solutions to make the quality of life better here in Bangkok. So I thought I'd just plug them a little bit since they're not here. Going back to our esteemed panelists, I wanted to start with you, Lisa. Since I imagine at the accelerator, at a global accelerator, you probably get a lot of applicants, and I know this is the vertical around climate tech is relatively new, but you've been in the space for a while. And I was curious if you could share with the group some interesting technologies or trends that you're seeing in the CCUS space, the carbon capture usage and storage space. Yeah.
Yes. Hello? Okay. Yeah, sure. This is a question that we're getting a lot recently in the APAC climate tech space, and we've received a lot of global application, but in terms of trends in Southeast Asia related to CCUS, what we've seen in terms of trends is CCUS combined with waste management, as you mentioned, using biomass to do biochar, to avoid the burning of biomass like rice husk burning. And then secondly, also, as Antonio mentioned before, combining CCUS with building materials, concrete, to permanently store and sequester carbon with mineralization method. Then in terms of countries, we've seen in Indonesia a lot of biomass utilization, like biochar, and in Philippines, as they have really deep waters near shore, this is great for scuba diving, but it's also really great for ocean carbon removal, as we can really sequester carbon near shore there permanently.
Great. And then on the flip side of that, what are some challenges these startups have? Do you see in Southeast Asia? You know, we talked about early sessions talked about regulation. Still have a long way to go. What other challenges do you see so far?
So the challenges here compared to other region in Europe or North America, where CCUS is way more advanced in terms of regulation and policies, is in the region the lack of incentives or regulation from governments. Also, a limited willingness to pay for these early technologies without attractive economics first. And also, as it was mentioned in the talk before about energy transition, Southeast Asian countries have to really transit from fossil fuels and coal burning to renewables and energy storage. And this is something that has to be taken into account for energy-intensive carbon removal solution that can create more pollution if the energy is not clean.
Okay, thank you. Moving to Baz a little bit. The startup that you're with, Ecologic Circle, I know one of the products you do is you take rice straw, right? And instead of burning it, you're trying to encourage farmers to essentially upcycle it, right, into like biofertilizer or biodegradable packaging, right, for food instead of foam or plastic, and then that can turn into organic matter. As a startup yourself, what challenges do you face? Yeah.
Thank you. Of course, the capital itself and the whole operation around it. But I think there's also a need for more investment or incentives into processing, incentives to make it more tax attractive. BOI has some sustainability incentives, which are, let's say, 2 to 4 years exemptions for certain products, but in fact, they are many more to reflect the urgency and the need for the time in related to these products. This is you should have a much more. It should be much more of a tax incentive. I think also the challenges are related to R&D. We have to produce consumer products which require a lot of further R&D, and there's a lot of investment that can be done into that.
It's interesting because the packaging that you're trying to produce, obviously, you're competing with existing products, right? At a certain price point. I don't know if you've done the numbers to calculate what the the green premium is, or the premium is for let's say food sellers to switch over to your products? Is that something that you've?
Well, there's a very important role that the Thai government has actually a very good roadmap for plastic. By 2027, we're supposed to be entirely neutral, totally recycling and totally reducing, and that is having a big impact on the actual market, the ability to compete. So it's the biopackaging is opening up, and the but at the same time the plastic price is high right now, so we can actually compete, and that's one major thing that we offer, is that all of our products are profitable and can compete with plastic, and that's a major change. If you look at a lot of the cornstarch kind of products, they are much more of a green premium, let's say. So that is a major difference, and the plastic policy will help us a lot, and you can see it already now. In shops like Macro, the shelves are filling right across the row with plastic, with eco products rather than plastic.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Yeah, it was interesting, and Bas mentioned the BOI. For those of you who are not from Thailand, the BOI is the Board of Investment, and they provide certain tax incentives for people to open or build certain types of businesses here. With the plastic bags, I thought it was interesting during COVID, actually, people temporarily switched back to using plastic bags because it was seen as more sanitary, right? Obviously, at hospitals, they're not using recycled, they're not reusing the materials, right? And the same mentality applied to plastic bags that you got at 7-Eleven and whatnot. But
yeah.
I think we're back on track now since we're past COVID. Yeah.
Theoretically, we should be able to make masks as well. So there's so many things that you can produce if you put your mind to circular value. For example, we are doing also a capturing of CO2 from the boiler stack. We use rice husk, and we can capture CO2, which is what we call green CO2, because the CO2 that our beverage industries and other industries currently use natural gas to produce the CO2. Yeah. And so we offer a green zero emission solution. But we can also extract silica, which is a high value product. We can do bioethanol. We can do carton. If you think about how many cartons are used for your home delivery, Amazon does some 4 billion per year. So those are all products that we have further and down in the pipeline.
Great. So lots of potential just from rice straw, right? Not to mention other...
And circular mindset.
Circular mindset, rice straw, not even talking about other agricultural byproducts yet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Kun Tae, so Bas just mentioned clean carbon dioxide production. I'm sure at SCG with all the products that you manufacture, there's some interesting byproducts as well. But when we were talking the other day, you kind of outlined a short-term, medium, and long-term plan in terms of what technologies you're looking for in terms of carbon capture, usage, storage. Would you be able to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that cement is one of the most carbon-intensive product, and it also is, unfortunately, also one of the most produced product in the world as well, cement. So we are in a very carbon-intensive industries. We also have plastics, which also another very carbon-intensive and massively produced product. So SCG, that's why we invest in these startups, right? We're trying to find new technologies to help us attack or mitigate it, and as well as find new opportunities for the company itself. And in terms of carbon, I think we not only just carbon captures, utilization, and storage. We also invest in renewable energy storage, and everything else as well. In terms of carbon captures, we see it as the longer terms technologies that we can use with our companies, mostly because long term but necessary. Because if you would like to get rid of, 20,000 tons, 20 billion tons of, 20 million tons of carbon emission, you would have to have some ways of capturing it. You have to have some ways of turning it into something useful, and you have to have ways to, even storage it. Because what can you do with 20 million tons of carbon dioxide? So I guess that's our goal. It's necessary, but it's probably longer terms away because, as we have discussed it throughout this panel discussion, the incentive is not there. The willingness to pay is still not there yet. That's why venture capital is a good tools to not only invest but also keep track of these developments to make sure that when the time comes that we need it, there's something that we can use.
Great, thank you. I think the National Academy of Sciences in the U.S., they've said that by 2050, to get to net zero, we still need to find a way to capture about 10 billion tons of carbon a year. So basically that means that even if we restructure all the industries the way we produce things, there's still excess carbon in the atmosphere that we need to find a way to remove. So it's good that SEG is looking at that. What advice would you have for startups looking to get investment from you or potentially work with you? Maybe you can reference a few examples from the 10 plus startups you've invested in over the past few years, or maybe that they're not even startups. Maybe some are established companies. Yeah.
I think that question can be answered in a couple of ways, I guess. But I guess especially in the hard science startups that focus on decarbonization, I would suggest you to follow the money, I guess, because in Thailand we know that it's very difficult to implement these things because the incentive is not there. There's no regulations and stuff like that. That's why when I introduce our fund, even though it's a decarbonization fund, most of our portfolio companies is in EU and US. The US just legalized the largest climate bill in the world. EU has carbon tax, carbon intensive to help. I mean, if you are a startup in Thailand, I would say this is a really big problem for the world. If you are solving hard problems and you think you have a breakthrough technologies, you follow the money. Because when you do a deep tech startups, you might be able to get it in the lab, you might be able to pilot it to a couple of kilos, tons a year scale, but when you really need to compete, you have to make it at, 1,000 tons, 10,000 tons even, maybe 100,000 tons. For cement, the scale might be 1 million tons a year. So I guess that's, you need to have certain incentive to be able to incentivize and keep the funding going, I guess. Yeah, what else did you ask? I'm kind of lost.
No, that's fine. I think you answered the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we were speaking the other day also, you said most of your investments have been actually outside of Asia, right? So if there are any startups out there listening to this broadcast based in Southeast Asia or Asia, you have a very strong potential partner in your backyard here who's willing to work with you and probably be your first customer, right? Yeah. Okay. Elisa, we have a couple extra minutes. So I wanted to ask you in terms of the startups that are applying to your program, do you have any recommendations of either how they can create a strong application to apply to your program, or is there a particular area where you have a gap, where you'd like to fill with a CCUS company or climate tech company? Anything you'd want to say in that regard?
Yes, so for our upcoming cohort, we have quite a spread cohort in terms of region, but we would like to see more application coming from Southeast Asia, of course. And then we're looking for direct air capture, mineralization, biochar, and utilization, whether it's for building materials, sustainable aviation fuels, and ocean carbon removal as well. So all this technology, we are super keen to see more, and also enabling technologies like MRV tools, merger verification and report tools. These are super useful and will be critical to measure all the different technologies under CCUS. So any company fitting under this umbrella with full-time founders, a prototype, and a gigaton annual scale potential, we are interested if they are ready to scale up with our test facilities partners.
Great. So you take two cohorts per year, right? And when's the next deadline for?
So we're gonna announce the new cohort this month, and then open application for the fall program during this summer.
Okay. So the startups that are interested still have a few more months, right?
Yes.
For the summer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And on the downstream side, I think you mentioned to me you're also looking for corporate partners for pilot tests or sites where you can do work. So potentially maybe you could talk to Kunte afterwards about working together with Brink. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking for partners, whether investors or corporates. And for corporates, I think they can help bridge the gap in terms of APAC capital and markets, providing like proof of concept agreements with the startups, purchase agreements or hot tech agreements, and also if they have a corporate venture arm, we would love to discuss to share the startups going through our cohort and discuss follow-on investment potential partnership.
Okay, thank you. Last question, Baz. In terms of your startup right now, are you in fundraising mode, or have you raised funds and you're scaling up now? What are you looking for from the audience here and online that might be able to help you get to the next stage?
Thank you. We are currently in the fundraising mode. We are close to closing a seed to run our major operation, which will scale up rapidly. We have to scale up to get to those 1 million tons of straw across the Asia region. But we currently have our pilot plant is being set up. We are working closely with the German government, who has also committed a lot of support. We believe a lot in this method of mitigating carbon. We are closing on seed to start the major operation, but looking for partners to potentially join that seed as well as Series A after that.
Okay, great. And for your products, you're looking to distribute them primarily in Thailand right now, or are you looking?
No, globally.
Globally.
And that's why I mentioned in the beginning that we're actually riding on the shoulders of an existing company that's in the rice and rice derivative products, particularly in organic, which, for example, instant noodles made from rice, but an organic food product. So they have a lot of a need for these packaging products for their own. So like instant noodles, the bowl, as well as, let's say, rice snacks, the packet, the tray for those snacks. But they also have a global clientele. And in fact, our packaging would also be organically certified. So that's a big one too.
Great. Thank you very much. I wanted to thank our panelists, Baz, Elisa, Kunte, and all the other panelists today. I think this is the last session for today. And for closing remarks, Kukai is going to be yourself? Okay. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone. Just going to wait for my technician team to change the slide. All right. Where do we begin?
Are you tired?
I mean, this vision started out as 11 p.m. calls, 6 a.m. calls between John and I across 2 time zones because we really believed that together we can really influence the investments, the interests, making climate change, investments, innovations, and so on, mainstream in Southeast Asia. And this vision came to life today because all of you sitting in the room.
The most funny thing I have to say is that I'm French and I'm based in between Singapore and Bangkok, and Kukai is Thai, based in North America. And it should be the other way around, right? But this is actually how the team is structured. And guess what? I wake up at 5 a.m. a lot these days. But look, we pulled this off last 2 weeks, and I would like us to give a big clap to a lot of people. They're not all in the room, but we're still gonna clap for them. Number one is the Atlas team. So everybody with the black t-shirts, you've seen them all around, and they've been really, really hustling really hard. So please give them a big round of applause. And next, I would like to thank really all the speakers that have been here, because they are not just came to this event. They actually have been doing call with us, exploring collaboration, potentially co-investments, etc., with Atlas portfolio or others. And so this is really this ecosystem that you can see just a bit of a glimpse today. But this is really like the past year of work that Kukai and I have got together to bring those people in. And again, this is just the little tip of the iceberg. So please keep, hanging out with us, keep coming to our dinners, and you will see a little bit more of these icebergs every day. So please, big round of applause for all the speakers that came in today. And just saying, out of the 130 people we had coming in today, we had 30 flying in just for that event, which is a pretty big number. We didn't pay any flight tickets, so they really wanted to see you guys. So I would advise you to, pay them justice, to hang out a little bit more. In the networking room there's 20 bottles of wine we need to finish, and I cannot do that by myself with Kokai. So please help us. Talk to these people who flew in. Just get to know each other. This is about business, but it's also really about people, right? So just forget about business a little bit. It's 7 p.m. Just stay, hang out with us.
On that note as well, I always say that I truly believe that communities will change the way that we start companies, and we'll fund companies as well. So this is the reason why we created the Southeast Asia Climate Tech Coalition, is to form a community. Next up, I would like to really thank Coral Life. Thank you so much, Coral Life team, for putting this out, hosting us today. And the building was not even completely finished, but we really pushed it, and they really supported us to making this happen. So without Coral Life, we wouldn't be hosting our first inaugural Climate Tech Day event and the first certified passive home in Asia, which is a really, really big, something to be really proud of here. All right, call to action here. So would really love to invite you guys to join the Southeast Asia Climate Tech Coalition. There are QR codes around. If you don't already know that, we really want you to participate in the conversation. Please do join us, invite your friends, anyone interested in climate tech. We say it's not just investors. It takes a village to actually scaling breakthrough technologies, hard tech companies. It takes average day citizens as well to be making climate mainstream. It takes corporates. It takes, it's policymakers and everyone that, came to this event today to making it happen.
Yeah, and just about a little bit about this, right? So we've got to work with companies. We really, with Atlas, we really want to help conglomerates from Southeast Asia to access the next S-curve by connecting with those innovations in Europe, in the US. And that's why Kukai is based in North America. That's why I'm French and I'm going back and forth to access to those deal flows, so you don't have to, right? Just 2 months ago, we had a bunch of people from Atlas that came with us in Paris to do a delegation in Hello Tomorrow, for example. We have a lot more events coming up. We really want to help those corporates to do their job. And so next 6 months, we are selecting 8 companies to work with us, and we basically work with them to access this massive deal flow that we have built over the years. And this is something that you can participate on. We already have 2 companies that we're working with, and we're looking to have more. So if you're interested in sharing that deal flow access, just come talk to us. We'll be here for next 2 hours. And then back to summarizing what is really this coalition about. Maybe Koka, you want to have the last one? No, but it's just this thing. There's a lot of greenwashing out there. right? To be honest, I dropped it, boom, right? There's a lot of greenwashing out there, but there's also a massive business opportunity. And for companies like SCG, PTT, they know this. They've been investing in that space for more than a decade, right? But all the others who are not grabbing that chance, they're going to be left behind, right? They will be using other people's services, right? Just like you're using Grab every day today. But what if you could have been an investor of Grab? I mean, you should not be here, right? So what if you could have been an investor of Tesla? But I will not be here, right? I will be on an island somewhere, right? So this is this chance that we are actually putting to your doorstep today, right? And when we say we want to mobilize $1 billion US, just taking PTT as a partner for the coalition, here we go. We got $100 million already committed, right? Look at Click Foundation, not even a conglomerate, $100 million as well. So we really believe we can together with you assemble $1 billion US for Southeast Asia investment and commercializations of these technologies. Just in the room, we have $1 billion. So this is something that is very tangible. You're all invited. If you don't want to join the party, it's fine. We'll have a good time without you. But since you are here, we might as well continue to have good times and do more events like this together, right? So that's pretty much this coalition. This is the kickoff today. We've got a couple of media who covered us already. Thank you so much for the media coming as well. And lastly, remember that all of this Southeast Asia Climate Tech Coalition is not just a movement, it's also a fund, right? This is the Atlas Capital who is investing, putting the team energy and time and money to make it happen. So we would love to work together. If you have any things you want to do with Atlas Capital, feel free to come to Kukai or me, or scan the QR code, talk to our team. Let's continue that conversation beyond just today. Today is just the great kickoff, the ignition of this fire. But hopefully there's so much more to come. Thank you so much for today, and see you in a bit.